You're listening to the Barretta Brothers, two of us. For best results, use both ears.
Hey, we made it.
Here we are. Yeah. What's the date today? Is it the 4th? No. Oh,
7th.
Sorry. No. Right.
What?
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being so patient.
Hey.
We're here. We're live. We've got a reunion for you. Well, a couple things first. Yeah. So a couple things we want to just mention at the start of the show, because we want to connect with you. Yeah.
Sorry, Gene. Did you say a couple?
A couple things we want to go through in the show.
Okay.
Got it? Okay. A couple things we want to go through in the show. Because we want to connect with you, we're going to come in at different points in the show, and we're going to go to the chat, answer a few Q&As, show a couple extra photos, maybe a few items from the show. And after the show ends, we're even going to stick around a little bit longer live on the stream to answer even more of your questions. So we've got an action-packed evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, we certainly have a couple hours of fun coming to you. So hope you'll stay in there, hang in with us, because there's a lot of things that are in this show that are really fun, things that people have never heard before, things that I didn't know, even though I was there every day, just like so many of us were on the show. But a lot of things that were going on. So it's really great. I loved it. I loved doing it, Gene. Didn't you love doing it?
It was really fun. Like you said, I heard stories I'd never heard before, and people were showing some things along the way too that I haven't seen.
Right.
But a couple other things before we get to all this. We want to mention next week we have a really great show. We pre-recorded the show. Sometimes we're going to have to do some pre-records because to get the people we want to get, we can't always schedule it on the live, the air date when we're going live. We had an incredible show with Frank Oz and Dave Goles, and you're going to hear and see stories you've never seen or heard before, and we hadn't either. So please watch for that, and we're going to go back to our Saturday showtime at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yes, a couple of two very demented men. You really get a sense,
and hosts.
You really get a sense of Frank and Dave's relationship, and then the four of us together is even more insane. So it was great. Finally, we do a couple little shameless plugs. If you get a moment, please go to that guy. I don't know which side you're on. That way. No, you're that way. You're that. Yeah. www.genebarretta.com for some amazing books, children's books, and artwork. You can go there and check out that stuff. I don't really like his stuff that much. You might, but I would go there definitely for your kids. It's awesome. The books are amazing.
Second shameless plug is please visit our website, thebarrettabrothers.com, where you can learn more about the show. Yes. And please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, because that's going to help us keep the show going and doing more of what we're doing now.
We'd like to, we've been talking about maybe extending this kind of 30th anniversary idea, maybe throughout the year, and having some smaller, more intimate groups, even though this is an amazing show that's coming, and we should get to it probably really quick now. But there's so many people, it was hard to get everybody's thoughts and ideas and memories in, but we're thinking about doing some smaller shows down the line where we can get smaller groups of these amazing people that worked on the show to come and talk with us. So please subscribe.
Are you ready?
I am.
I think we should hand it over to our pre-recorded hosts, Gene and Bill.
Oh, to us. Send it to us.
Yeah.
Jason, can you send it to us?
Hey. Hey, Gene.
We've been waiting for. Hey, Bill.
It's a big one. It's a big one, man. So cool. Look at you. You're all dinosaured up.
Bill.
I'm wearing your Dinosaurs baseball uniform. There was an actual Dinosaurs baseball team that played other TV shows, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah. Hey, Gene.
Yeah.
I just want you to know
Go ahead.
that every time I see you, when we get together to do this,
Bill.
it's like, yes, Tom? What? Did you want to talk? Tom, you have to wait your turn.
The voice of God.
You can't talk to us while we're doing other stuff. You have to wait. All right? I love him. Okay.
He's just directing you.
What I was going to say, I see he's always directing, right? What I was going to say was that, you know, the moment I see you when we do these is like, it's like a Tyrannosaurus's mother milk, you know, like the mother's milk feeding the little baby, the baby dinosaur. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Don't get me going.
Well, I mean it. I mean it, and I just wanted to say that. So I said it, and it's out there, and I just want people to know.
You know, Bill, spending these moments with you is, it's always a revelation, a discovery, stimulating, just short of erotic. And I'm guessing it's the same feeling Oxford professor Dr. William Buckland felt back in the 1820s when he was the first man to examine a tray of mysterious prehistoric fossils and declare them to be a mighty megalosaurus.
I'm sorry, what was the erotic part? What was it?
I'm just very moved at the moment. Can we move forward?
Yes, absolutely. Let's move forward. Okay. Well, folks, we have an amazing show. 30th anniversary reunion of Dinosaurs. Obviously, there are so many people that were involved with this show and the creation of it. We couldn't have everybody on. But fortunately, we were able to track some people down since the last 30 years.
Lots of people.
Yeah, quite a lot of people. And they're really excited to come and do this. We so appreciate them coming to do this and spending the time with us. And I think you're going to appreciate it too. So hang in there, bear with us. We're going to have a lot of fun and you're going to meet a lot of interesting, cool people.
Should we also mention that we're going to approach this telling the story of dinosaurs from the start, the inception, take it all the way to the premiere, which happened in April 1991.
Yes.
And so you're going to hear all about it in chronological order. So who do you think we should start with, Bill?
Well, let's see. The journey may have begun somewhere, maybe back in the Henson bloodline, perhaps. Someone maybe that's part of the Henson family that might be able to shed some light on it. Maybe Brian Henson?
If we could only get someone like Brian Henson.
I wonder.
All right, is that where you want me to come in?
Oh, wait, that's not Brian Henson.
Is that where you want me to come in?
Wait, I'm sorry, sir. You're on the wrong show.
Really?
Who are you?
I am Brian Henson.
Oh, good. Great. Hello.
Is that when you wanted me to come in?
Yeah, that was perfect timing. Thanks.
This is the Torkelsons. This is the Torkelsons reunion show.
Hi, Brian.
Torkelson's was right next door.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys.
How are you?
Brian.
Okay, this is crazy what you're trying to pull off.
We know, but it's worth it. I can't wait. I can't wait for the chaos. It's going to be awesome. But you know what? So we're just going to kind of move because, you know, there's a lot to do and it's going to take some time. So forgive us if we're going to keep pushing through here. Or Gene, actually, did you want to?
I did have a question. I think it's a good place to start. What was the earliest, your earliest recall of dinosaurs being discussed? What was the germ of it?
Oh, you know, I was working in the London company almost exclusively, really, when my dad passed away. And I do remember, I think it was when we were shooting Storyteller, he and Alex Rockwell, I remember having lunch with them. And there was two comedy ideas that he liked. One was a puppeteer who has a ventriloquist dummy, but it's actually really alive, and they really don't like each other, but they have a fake act, and it's really successful, so they have to live together, and it was sort of like Odd Couple. And then he liked the idea of doing this family sitcom about dinosaurs, and again, it's so long ago. Somebody else is going to tell you what really happened, and I'm going to just tell you what I remember, which is but from what I remember, he was liking the idea of a family of dinosaurs, and they live so irresponsibly that it's inevitable that they're going to go extinct. And that was sort of thematically what he was trying to do. And at the time, I was like, well, what do these dinosaurs look like? And he was like, I think they're just like suits. And like, they're just, if way back in the day, my dad did LeChoy Dragon Chinese noodle commercials, Chinese cup of noodles type thing.
Right. Yeah.
And he got inside this dragon costume that was ridiculous. And he used to just sort of like rush into grocery stores and knock over all the groceries, and the tail would hit women in the face. Honestly, I think that he sort of thought maybe it would be a relative to that, because that was sort of like not a very good puppet. It was just sort of a reckless thing. And I think that's kind of, anyway, I think that's my oldest memory. I'm shocked that we were on air in April of 91. Were we on air in April of 91?
The premiere, it was 26th or 29th, something like that.
Wow.
The 26th. 26th.
Yeah, then we worked really fast, because 30 years ago, right now, we were not in pre-production. We were not making the show yet. That's sure.
Right. I remember doing, I think my fitting for my suit was in November of 90 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was fast. I mean, you guys were moving.
It all happened really fast. When my father died, going all the way back, the Walt Disney Company was buying the Jim Henson Company. And my dad had gotten sort of halfway through the deal. It was very complex. Michael Eisner was very excited to complete the deal. And he said, you know what, it's really awful that Jim's died, but I believe that you guys can still be a great company. And he wanted to finish the acquisition of the Jim Henson Company and wanted me running it. And he had known about dinosaurs somewhat from my dad, even though it was early days. And you're going to have Alex Rockwell on and KIRK Thatcher. Yeah. Those guys were working with my dad before he died. So they'll know more than I do, actually, because I was in London. So I kind of just remember, I came over, obviously, when my dad died, I came over and I had to take over the company. And Michael really liked Eisner, really liked dinosaurs, and said, come on, we got to prove that we can do so. And well, we also did a special that was remembering Jim Henson, the Muppets remembering Jim Henson. But you know, I think, you know, Eisner was a big push. He really wanted us to make it. And so it went real quick. It was a big show, super expensive. Yeah. The way I made it, I don't know if my dad might not have made it that way. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I was coming off of Ninja Turtles, where we were doing these crazy things with motors and animatronics, and they were breaking down, and it was hell, but it was fun, and it was weird, and it was new. And so I sort of brought that kind of Ninja Turtle sensibility to the show that I'm not actually sure my dad would have done. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, let's. I want to get to that, because we're gonna, as we come to the Creature Shop, we're gonna start talking about that too. But why don't we bring Alex and KIRK on? Because I'd love to get.
If only we could get them. If only we could get Alex
if they were
Rockwell
here.
And KIRK Thatcher.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice?
What?
Oh, there's KIRK.
What are you guys? I was just sitting here dreaming up ideas, and suddenly my computer rings. What's happening?
Hi guys, welcome.
You guys
Alex,
hear me?
Yes, we hear you now. Yes,
there
Alex, thank you. So I'm curious. I'm just going to jump right in, guys, because we're moving through this a little bit, right? So excuse me.
Can you ask them to fix my chronological order? Yeah, because I don't remember how much. I mean, at a certain point, dinosaurs became like honeymooners, and it started having a whole. I mean, it got more and more defined, and I don't remember where it was at when my father died.
Right. Well, I can.
Can we back up a little?
Yeah, start out, Alex, because you were.
Yeah. It's so great to see everybody, by the way. Yes, every show has like an origin story, and this one's near and dear to my heart because it involved Jim, as Brian said. And Brian, what it was At the time, I was Jim's creative assistant and lucky enough to shadow him all over the place. And we went down and visited the set of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And on the airplane ride back from that visit, Jim, as he often did, would sort of throw down a challenge like, okay, that technology is really interesting. How do we use it like in another new way for television? And that's where we started with. So on this airplane ride, I remember it because we just started laughing. We were kicking around this idea, and I remember we said, well, the only thing everybody knows about dinosaurs is that they went extinct. And so it suddenly occurred to us that it was a great creature to do satire, to satirize the human experience. And I remember we were laughing because it was like, yes, the dad would be like, oh, we have this great building material, asbestos, that kind of thing. and once we started to do that, we collected a whole bunch of ideas. And the funny little tag to that is Jim had me write up a treatment and send it to the heads of department at Henson, and we got a resounding thud. It was like, everybody was like,
nothing.
No. Because they were licensing and publishing, and they couldn't figure out how this could be an adult family sitcom. It sounded like a kid show. And it was radical. That was the time of like Home Improvement. It was sort of a radical idea in that context. But we loved it. We put aside because, Jim got busy with a lot of other stuff. And then, of course, he passed. And then, Brian, you and I talked about it after Jim passed, and you were really into it, so that made me think maybe it's not totally insane. So there was a meeting with Dean Valentine because, as you say, Disney and Henson were still trying to find things to do together.
Sorry, who was at the time? Dean was the what? What was Dean?
He was the head of Walt Disney Television, and had just done Home Improvement. So he was inviting us to come up with ideas that we could do with Disney for prime time. So I went over there and I pitched him Dinosaurs. And I remember as I was pitching it, I was thinking, he is going to think I'm crazy. This is going to be the end of the meeting. And it was like, I sort of started panicking. And I remember throwing Honeymooners out there because Jim did reference Honeymooners. And it was like that.
Oh, wow.
That totally now part of the mix. I can't remember why we thought that was part of it, but yes. So I'm pitching away, and at the end, I thought Dean was going to kick me out, and he turns to me and says, I love this idea, and I have the perfect writer, Michael Jacobs. And of course, that is when, it really became real, because I couldn't believe we could get someone like Michael to come in and write this, and it was all about the writing, because I kept saying at the time, it's a satire, it has to be really smart.
Wow.
And then Disney really got behind it. And then, of course, we had that crazy pitch with Bob Iger, who was running Apple, which was one of the best. Michael Jacobs gave one of the best pitches I've ever seen. I still think about it.
No, running ABC, not Apple.
Running ABC, sorry. And yes, and we had that giant crazy pitch where, Brian, you dropped the bomb that like, oh, by the way, you have to buy the whole series because you can't do it.
KIRK,
Well,
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I was just going to ask, KIRK, you were there right at the start, and I've always been
Yeah.
curious. How much did you have to lie on your resume to get your first meeting there to get started?
I've been working with Jim for 5 years, so I'd lied 6 years earlier.
Oh, wow. So that's good.
Well, Jim, the great thing about Jim was he would bring you in as an idea guy if you're an artist, and that's what I'd done up to that point. I'd been sort of an idea gag guy. And Jim would just said, I have this idea for this show, and this Ninja Turtle technology is amazing, and I'd seen that. And he said, I want to do this show that kind of highlights dinosaur thinking, if you will. Like you said, they're going to go extinct.
Wow.
And he like Alex said, he definitely referenced the Honeymooners and even like All in the Family in the way with the older dinosaurs were kind of dinosaur thinking. And so what's great about Jim, if you were an artist, is he would just start talking to you and you'd brainstorm much like you would with a writer. And I just started sketching. So I did a first set of sketches. I was living back in LA. I lived in New York for the Jim Henson Hour. I moved back to LA. So he'd flown me out for just general creative meetings. I was also consulting on the Disney Imagineering stuff because I was working in Imagineering. So I was kind of doing the dinosaur designs on the side. And then he flew me out again for another meeting. And I remember it was a lunch on a Friday. We had lunch and I sat in his office and showed him some more sketches and we laughed about these characters and we started playing with, they're not all, I remember one of the first things was they're not all going to be the same species. because we thought that would be boring. And he even said Fraggle Rock, one of the biggest problems with Fraggle Rock was they all look too similar. So I said, well, that's great, because as a designer, you're like, okay, you can have a T-Rex and a, you know, a Triceratops.
Do you remember which character kind of took shape first in a way? Like, was
for me,
actually, I wanted to ask you, because I selfishly know the story, but who was Earl's based on?
Yeah, it was my brother. Well, because the idea was he was kind of a construction worker guy and sort of, you know, he knew what's what, and he was a know-it-all. Not necessarily, you know, the smartest guy, and I'm not casting aspersions on my brother, but more that personality. I remember my sketch that we sold the pitch with was him with a beer in his hand and I think a Hawaiian shirt.
But the jawline, you used to talk about the jawline too or something.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother, the jawline. Yeah, he was a little more pugnacious than he ended up. He had kind of a more, his jaw was like that. And he was kind of sitting there, I think he had a cigar and he was like, like very Jackie Gleason. And so we did that second round and I yeah, exactly.
That's your original, right? That's your
original maquette from the London shop that did that.
Well, yeah, that's a maquette. That's
off my sketch
at that point.
Yes, yeah.
So we had that second round, and that was a Friday, and I think he passed that Tuesday, which was crazy. I was in New York. I spent the weekend there. I flew home, and I think the next morning I got a call saying Jim just passed away. And so there was all the chaos and obvious sadness about that. And then Alex, I guess, and Brian said, yeah, we're meeting with Michael Jacobs and Bob Young to take these ideas, this group, the document Alex had, the sketches that I had, and had a big meeting with them. And that's kind of, for me, what I had done at that point. And then we met with Bob and Michael.
So wouldn't it be nice if we were able to get
here?
They're not going to, they're big Hollywood types. You're not gonna
I know, I doubt they'd ever show up to something like this, but wouldn't it be great if, yeah, Michael.
Tell them it's WGA.
Keeping us.
Hey!
Oh,
Michael
there they are. I can't believe it.
Where's Bobby?
He's
right
there.
here.
You see him?
Up above. I got a better position than you do.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, Bob.
I gave Bill a little cash up front.
A little bit of something. A little something. How are you, fellas?
Very good, thank you.
How are you?
Very good.
We're great. I'm so
Nice
happy you're here. We're just kind of moving along here, so I just want to kind of jump in, if it's okay, with some questions. I'm wondering, were you guys develop? So there was the mention of the honeymooners thing, but what was it that made you guys, as you started to write this, to develop the family? How did you come up with the characters in those relationships of that family unit that worked so well? Where did that come from?
I think I have to go back like one step. It's funny, just what Kirk was saying before about when Jim Henson died. I think the whole project stalled for a little while. At least that's what we heard, because I think they thought, oh, what do we have? We don't know. We don't know what the relationship is with the company. Right. And I think it was kind of Dean Valentine who said, as he had said to Alex before, no, this is a good idea. Because I get the feeling that the people above him thought, well, maybe we should drop the idea. But Dean said, no, let's go.
No, Bob, I don't think it had that kind of momentum. It's not like it was heading towards production.
Yeah.
When my dad died, it was not. It was much earlier.
Literally, we were just batting around ideas for characters.
Yeah. No, but I mean, what I'm saying is that Dean really loved the idea.
He did.
And he really kept pushing it. And I think he kept pushing it. And so he came to Michael and me and said, no, this is still a really good idea. Let's do this. Did
you guys, did you think it was just kind of crazy? Like how do you take, these big animatronic characters and create a sitcom? Was it just insane kind of, or did you just think along the lines, Michael, were you just thinking about character and story?
Yeah, I never think we thought, when Bob and I started outlining what the series would be, I don't think we did anything but start with the core characters, what motivated them. We came up with mom and dad and sister and brother fairly quickly as to what they would be. It's funny, Kirk was talking about the jawline. I remember that vividly because Hey, Kirk, they flew Bob and I out to the creature shop in Britain, and we walked in, and all I had seen was this maquette, which I still have, that Brian was, and I thought he looked like a barroom bully. I felt that Earl was slightly off-putting because his chin was so jutting out, and he was angry and spoiling for a fight. And I said to Bob, isn't dumber better? And so let's get rid of the chin entirely. So I went to the creature shop and I said to one of the guys, Brian will love this. I said, listen, can we reduce the size of his chin? Is that allowed? Because I think it'll help the character that we want to write, Bob and I. And he took out an implement, because it was still raw clay, that looked like a toothpick. And I said, no, I'm talking about, here, let me help you. And I took a shovel that was leaning against the wall, and I started approaching the clay. 3 guys came and held me back and said, okay, we'll do it. And so we established his jawline.
That was Jamie Cordier, by the way, who sculpted it.
They were beautiful. And what Michael was trying to get at is, could this guy be more vulnerable? Yeah. Could he be sort of more identifiable because life had set him back? Right. And he was still struggling to try to find his place again. So let's make him, he's not, as he said, he's not a bully. Right. He's a little hapless. He's a little beaten down. Life has come at him from every direction. So
which
a thicker neck. Yeah.
I think it was a really good adjustment, because I think we were all a little too much on Archie Bunker. I think we were making a tough kind of mean guy, and I think it was a really good adjustment.
And what I always loved about him, I always thought, to me immediately, he was Jackie Gleason. That's what I always imagined. Touchstone. You know, that's what I kind of started to get, that it was the Art Carney and Jackie Gleason relationship going on, and you know, Jackie Gleason would scream and yell, but nobody took him seriously, and that was just such a great, I think, way to go.
But I mean, Michael and I started, we started with those drawings that Kirk had did of the family. And then we just said, okay, this is the family unit. And then we just wrote it as if it were a situation comedy. Right. We didn't.
And how did you start putting the writing team together? Was that soon after that?
We had to sell it first.
Yeah, we had to write the pilot script first and sell it, and then assemble the team.
But it was fast. I remember, once we sold it with the drawings and the pitch, I remember we walked out with Martin Baker, who was one of the producers with Henson, and didn't they buy it in the room essentially?
They bought it.
Much.
Yeah, and I remember walking out going, "Holy crap, we have to make like 9 dinosaurs in 4 months."
Oh my god!
Yeah, but you know what, guys? There's a step that you're missing. Bob and I were on the plane, and Bob and I had written the script, and we were happy with it. We felt that all of the characters had showcased; they were all easily understood. And as I would do, I turned to Bob just before we landed, and I said, "Something's wrong." And Bob said, no, nothing's wrong. Everything is perfect. Let's make the show. And I said, no, something's really wrong. And he said, what? And I said, I don't think we have an audience surrogate. I said, I think we need a representative in the cast who the audience, who can be almost the Greek chorus, the narrator. And he said, no. And I said, yeah, I think we need a baby dinosaur who is talking right out of the shell. And Bob immediately said, not the mama. And I'll never forget this, because Bob was lightning like this. And it was one of the best things that I loved about our relationship, is that if you fed him an idea, he would come up with the comedy. I don't want to say comedy gold, because that's terrible, but he would come up with what was usable and iconic immediately. And it wasn't 2 seconds after the birth of the baby in my head that Bob said, not the mama. And then, and so the baby was born with that, because I understood him upon Bob saying that. And then I said, we should be able to throw him against the wall, and he'd be a smaller puppet, and he would say again. And I wasn't espousing abuse exactly. But
certainly not.
Within the window of what we did. Bob and I went back and forth And we had that character, and we were so excited about that character that I think that's why he broke out.
He had a lot of the great quotable lines, like, you know, I'm the baby, gotta love me, things that you still hear people repeating.
It was
That was
actually,
Bob too.
it was
That
a
was also
challenging,
Bob.
it was a challenging design too.
Uh-huh.
A, because he was a full-on puppet, where the rest were creature suits, but also
Right.
getting him to look like a baby dinosaur, but also to be charming, because you didn't want to be scary or look, you know, like
Right.
a freak. And because he was so human and actually pink, I remember
Yeah.
the sculpting. I think we went through 3 sculpts to get it where it was. And an Irish guy, Kevin O'Boyle, who's an amazing sculptor, still is, kind of nailed it. And I remember when that was done and sending pictures, we were like sending Polaroids back. I don't think there was no internet really that was usable for video and stuff. So I was videotaping, but I remember when we nailed it, everyone kind of went, yeah, that's.
No, we were literally, Kirk, we were taking Polaroid photographs and then faxing them.
Faxing them,
back and
yeah.
forth. That was the state of our technology at the time.
And so a lot of those builds and things, that was all happening in the UK.
In London,
originally,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
All of it. Yeah, it was all built originally in London at the Henson Creature Shop in Hampstead.
This was such a complicated production because you had to start with the concept that Alex was talking about and the drawings that Kirk did, and then sort of the delineation of the characters that Michael and I did, and Brian did, and then you had to bring in all of the performers, and it was the performers that then gave voice and more personality and depth and richness.
They were terrible. Let's not talk about that.
They were really good.
But wouldn't it be great if people that worked in London were here with us?
That would be
And
good.
also
three or four.
some of our,
Only 3 or 4.
I hope our
maybe.
producers, maybe,
Like
is
Peter
that Pete
Brook or
well, Rita
Peruggi,
there's NIKI
NIKI
Lyons. So if I could just real quick, if I just start with you, Pete, just at that time, what was your role in all this?
I was, at the time I was working at the shop in Hampstead. I was a kind of designer sculptor, and I actually on Dinosaurs I did the Roy character. Kirk did all the other ones,
Right.
and I did Roy. Yeah.
And NIKI, what was your role? What was it that you
I
were?
I build things and work out problems. I'm a construction person, really. Right?
Well,
I walk in. And yeah.
Thank goodness you made Earl for me, because I'm so grateful that why? Because I don't think anyone else could have made it to move the way it did on me, to fit as well as it did, to distribute the weight the way it did.
I'm sorry I made it back there. I've got better since.
Great. Now you're better.
Yeah,
Terrific.
now I'm better already.
And then now,
But I found that I was amazed when I came in and I looked at the drawings and I thought, what the heck is this? Because it looked like pink and blue and weird up dinosaurs. And then the thing that clicked, because it was when Bob and Michael came and read the first script. And I just went, Jesus. I mean, it was so funny and it was so completely understandable and everything at that moment.
Wow.
That made
and then
difference.
now Rita.
And Nikki's absolutely right. I mean, initially we were like, oh my God, we've got to do all this in next to no time.
Yeah.
And then when Michael and Bob came over, I remember it as well. And it was like the penny dropped for us all, you know. We're like, oh, okay, this is what it's going to be, you know, because initially it was a strange kind of show. And if you remember, Kurt, they all had hair as well.
Yeah, the original designs. Well, not all of them. The females, the women had hair, Charlene and the mom.
Correct.
And I remember Brian was like, dinosaurs don't have hair. Now they're not sure if they have feathers. But I'm like, oh, well, okay, fine. They don't have hair. It's, you know, it's like
But
we were
Robbie,
trying to...
but you made that great Robbie.
Robbie
choice.
had spikes. Yeah, so we went with spikes. When Robbie had spikes, and then Charlene, we gave her the frill of a ceratopsian. And it worked better, you know, in retrospect. But it was, if you look at the designs, Fran and Charlene have big hair.
Rita, can you just give us a...
Sure. I came, I sort of bookended it, if you will. I'm a producer with Henson. So I was in one of those early meetings in the New York shop, Kirk. I think that was there with you when you were showing the designs. And and it's so interesting to hear how the development progressed to the green light, because I missed that whole section. But I always thought he was, you know, this was the Honeymooners, and I was looking at your sketches. And really, at that time, I was in production in New York, and Jim was talking about, the design and doing the characters. And, I'm not sure, it felt like that was going to be a big job and it was going to go to London. So it went to London, and I didn't get involved back into Dinosaurs until the last season, when I became the producer, took over after Brian and Pete had gone on to other projects. And so I kind of shepherded the show for the Henson Company in its last season. So it's an interesting journey.
But wait,
Technically speaking, how did the work on Dinosaurs evolve from what you were doing on the Turtles movies? Were there advancements, of course?
To be honest with you, it initially, like the pilot, it was almost the same. But throughout the course of the seasons that we did with Dinosaurs, we refined it to the point that when we were doing the final season, boy, there was quite a significant difference in terms of everything really, in terms of its reliability. And we essentially ended up rebuilding all the characters throughout the course of the whole 4 seasons.
Because I remember, aside from the scale, right? So because Turtles really was more fitted to those actors, right?
Yeah,
but,
Robbie and Charlie were a bit more like,
right, and a lot more servos, right, that were kind of working in these characters, a lot more, right, things going on as well. Is that right? There was more.
The big step up in technology was going into Ninja Turtles, where we said, even if a character has 30 motors in it, we're going to get one puppeteer to be able to perform it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because up until then, before Ninja Turtles, we were using cables a lot more often. So so we would have cables coming out of a character, and then a puppeteer pulling the cable. It was a nice sensitive movement. So with Ninja Turtles, all those movements were cable driven, but then they were motors driving the cables that were inside the turtle shells. And so that's what we had just completed. So as we went into Dinosaurs, we were approaching it much the same way, where the motors weren't up in the head. The motors were outside of the head, driving cables that were then driving the motors. And then, as Pete said, very quickly, John Criswell, I'd say, led that sort of revolution of moving the motors up into the head so that they get more direct control. It was just progression.
No, it's really interesting. It's really interesting that you're talking about all this technology, Brian. Dean Valentine said to me, we have Burke, Murphy, and Robert Iger. Those were the guys. Now, at that time, it was Cap Cities.
Right.
Yeah.
And they, and ABC, Disney bought ABC from Cap Cities, and these were the guys at Disney. But at this point, it was still Cap Cities. Yeah. And Dean said, Michael, would you please give Mr. Burke, Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Iger a tour of the dinosaur set? And no one was there. And you just took 4 minutes to explain the technology, and you understand it. And these guys asked me how this would work. I said, I would have absolutely no idea. But you're looking at all of this equipment here. Look how sophisticated it is. You have to trust it. And Bob Iger said to me, Michael, is there anything you have any idea of for certain? And I said, yeah, this is going to be the most expensive show on television.
Well, we've got you all here now. We have something to show you. You might enjoy.
Some of you may remember yourselves. We have a little treat. Not all of you are in it, but here's just a little trip down memory lane. If we could get that little video.
Are you rolling? Rolling. Are you rolling? Rolling. There's no red flashing light. I'm on. It's always good to see you. It really is. Can you got one eye like a cyclops? Well, how are things with you? Okay. Okay. Get it. That's a nice one, a little JVC. They make them smaller and smaller. And... Okay. You are Pappy Yoko. I am Pappy Yoko. Scary. Pointing a camera at me and I can't think anything to say. Well, it's so great because I zoomed in right there and you just completely lost it.
It's the first day and I like to say, pot.
Hi, I'm really excited about being on Candid Camera today.
Is this yours? Once upon a time, in a forest in Germany.
You want to see what the after effect looks like, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
See? Jack's been doing this for years.
I've been doing this for years, yeah. I don't have a neck anymore.
No problem for him.
No, they removed the spine, but they put in the foam core stuff. Hold on a second, I gotta switch. Okay,
there
now
you go.
I feel a lot better now, yeah.
Hon, you're in front of the camera in 5 minutes. Now let's go. Come on, we're burning daylight.
Well, get on here.
I can't. I need some assistance.
Get off of there and get on here.
Okay, just a sec.
Come on.
Wow, a new camera.
And then
We're suing Disney.
They're suing Disney.
These are
They have-
explosive devices, and if Disney does not give us $1 million, I'm going to blow his freaking head off.
Ah, so long ago. We were just
That
children.
cracks me up. That line that Bruce does just always cracks me up. His delivery. Well, there's some of it.
You can see a lot more. Little teaser.
Yeah.
We're going to show you, before we get to take a couple questions, why don't we show a couple pictures that we have from the set from way back you might find interesting. Can we put up first one? Why don't you explain this, Billy?
Well, that is the head that I had to wear for almost 4 years. Although this is the lighter version, I believe. This is a carbon fiber structure skeleton. You can see the black is all carbon fiber, which was created and actually devised by John Criswell and then the other people in the workshop. But basically, this is Earl's head, kind of a cross section. You can see the rubber around his jaw. You can see where some of the servos are up top. He has a little eyebrow. Looks like two little white things that move his eyebrows around. You can see the little white things in the front of his nose that move his lips. But basically, if you can see, I don't know if you can tell or not, but in there where it looks like a little strap kind of down at the jaw, that's the cast of my head. Or no, wait, or that's me. I can't tell if that's me.
It is you. Yes, that's you, the bottom right. You can see your lips and your cheek.
So somebody...
Everybody see that?
I don't even know.
Yep.
That's wild. I'd never noticed that. Anyway, that's cross-section of Earl's big old head. Next one.
What else we got?
Oh, well, this is actually from the first photo shoots that we did before the show started for promotional stuff. And Dave Goles was the puppeteer for Earl's head, for his face. And I'm in there.
You can imagine now where Billy's head is actually sitting. It's kind of just behind the chin there.
Yeah.
Right?
I could only see
like between the chin and the, yeah.
Yeah, I could only see when the mouth opened. So, whenever Earl would speak, I would get kind of a flash movie of what was going on outside. Otherwise, I just had to figure out all my movements blindly.
Yeah, because it wasn't, a lot of people know by now that in Big Bird, he had a little monitor in his chest so he could get a sense of where he was walking, but you didn't have that. You just had the mouth.
Right. But and some of the other characters like Robbie, Leaf could see out of the neck. Fran could see out of the neck. Misha, I don't think Misha, maybe he could see down through the chin, maybe a little bit. I'm not sure, I have to ask him. But yeah, so I could only see when the mouth was open. So a lot of times Earl is crossing the living room. I would have to ask Mac or Dave to go, and have him sigh. So at least I could see the next 5 feet or so ahead of me. Next picture. Oh, well, there's the thirds. The thirds of Earl. There's Stuart Pankin, top left, the voice of Earl. Mac Wilson, top right, the puppeteer for the amazing facial manipulations and features of Earl and and the jaw, of course, bringing that guy to life, and then the sweaty one in the bottom, me inside. All right. Oh, Gene, I don't hear you. I don't hear Gene.
Sorry, I muted myself because there was a dog barking. I wanted to mute him out.
Okay.
We want to get back to the show, but we want to answer a few questions first.
Jason, you got anything?
Yes, sirree. So,
Jason, by the way, our lovely, handsome producer. Jason,
yeah,
say hi
I'm looking good on camera today. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here, guys. And we're having a good time in the chat here, so that's awesome. There was a question, Bill, for you, that there was a blooper reel of the show where Kevin was improvising during a break. Did you ever do that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I think we always improvise because that's how you find little things. You know, you stay true to the script and the structure of the scene or the story. But yeah, we always played just to find little things, just to make it feel more organic and more in the moment. Always. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions about the costume specifically. I know you talked just a little bit about it, but people want to know, what was it like to be inside? How hot was it? How difficult? You mentioned that it was kind of difficult to see where you were going, but what else can you elaborate on there?
Well, I'll tell you, we're going to come to a section where the people in the workshop are going to come on, and they'll talk a little bit about that. But just in general, very hot, very sweaty. We lost a lot of weight, so we would always be replenished with water. We had people that kept us alive, basically, gave us air, gave us liquids, and just kept us going. It was my suit, I think, in total, I think the head in the very beginning was 22 pounds. The suit in total was about 90, and then that lightened up by about 8 to 10 pounds when they changed that shell and went to that carbon fiber, the lighter weight material. But you'll hear a little more from the Creature Shop about that. But yes, very sweaty, very stinky, very heavy and hot.
Awesome. And then how many Timmies do you think Mr. Lizard went through? The crew seemed to have quite a supply of them.
I don't know. Only as many as he blew up. I don't know. We're gonna need another Timmy. I think only as many as we shot. So I don't know if that was 3 or 4. I can't remember how many.
All right. And I guess maybe the last question for this part, how long did you guys rehearse together before actually going on camera for an episode?
The process, I'll just try and make this quick because I know we want to get back to this. But really the process was, and you might see some of this in a video eventually. Remember, hang in there till the end because there's a great video of the last day of shooting, which I think people will be excited to see. And in that, there's a few moments where you'll see we would do a little read through as the group. Sometimes, depending on what part of the day it was, if it was in the beginning of the day, we were all still dressed in the clothes that we came in. If it was a scene a little bit later in the day, we then had gotten out of our big costumes, changed, got out of the wet stuff, put on little robes, and we would sit around, do a quick read of the scene, which were the puppeteers who are manipulating the heads, and the body suit performers would be there as well. So we're all sitting there. Then we would walk it as ourselves without our suits. The director would block it with us. We'd figure out where to go, where we had to be. Then we would do it with our suits on so we could still see and we could navigate where we had to go. The puppeteers, doing the lines again off camera. And then heads on was always the thing that they would call out. Heads on. Heads would come in. They would get us in there. And then we would shoot the scene and communicate. There was still a lot of communication going on because we all had headphones and we all had microphones. So you can imagine a cacophony of noise right before we would start to shoot. Everybody's talking to each other. Okay, I'm just going to go there. Okay, just make sure you do that. Can you hear me when I say this? Okay, let's change that. All these little things that would go on right before we shoot. It would build up, and then action. And then we would do a scene. So that was kind of the process. Gene, you're off again. Gene, you're off.
Sorry, there's a very busy dog next door. Let's remind our viewers that when we come back to the next segment, our guests have just seen the video that you saw. They're reacting to that. So why don't we rejoin them?
And so, yes, it'll be we'll go about another half hour. There'll be another break. We'll come back and talk to you a little bit more, but enjoy this next segment. It's great. Well,
were we ever that young?
Oh, Kirk. Folks, we thank you for your time in this part of the show. We'd ask if you would maybe head back to the waiting area where there's some hot towels and some lemonade and bonbons and things like that.
Reiki massage.
Yes, there's a little Reiki going on.
We're going to have a little toast at the end of the show and a cake. So if you wouldn't mind hanging around, we'd love to have you for that.
Yeah, please stick around and watch some of our other friends come on. We're about to bring on some of our
some writers, producers.
Yeah, fun. Oh, good. There's Tim. Tim Doyle. Here comes Victor Fresco, Rob Hewlin, Rich Tabak. Hello, gentlemen.
Tell us, can you describe what the writer's room environment or atmosphere was like for this show?
Well, I think I'll start. I think it was similar to all shows. You know, we start by talking just generally about what the season's going to be and what the relationships are, and start breaking stories. I think the writers early on, I think I can speak for most of the writers in this, that I think we were more interested in the social satire of it than we were in the family dynamic of it. So we knew that it was a show about this family dynamic, but it quickly in our minds, the fun to be had with it was to be able to comment on culture and politics, you know, in a way that we could never do on any other show. So that was just really funny.
It's pretty amazing when you think the topics that you guys tackled, you know, what sexual harassment and, you know, there are a lot of just really topical stories that I'm not sure people really were prepared for at the moment, you know, right at that time. I think it took a minute for them to catch up and realize, you know, how clever these stories were.
Nuts to War, our big two-part epic on the Gulf War. I mean,
right?
It was great. I love it.
During the run of the show,
sorry, go ahead, Rob. Please.
During the run of the show, the Soviet Union fell apart, and I remember Bob Young said, "Communism does not exist in the world anymore, except on the show Dinosaurs."
And you know, I think you guys had an interesting way of looking at it from an animal's perspective as well, the dinosaurs' perspective. Even though it seemed like they, you know, had obviously human emotions and problems, there was still that side of it that was still rooted in the animal, which I loved about it, you know.
Well, there were the animal things that we did, and there were also sort of like ancient tribal kind of things that we did, like the origin of society. You know, I mean, part of the satire in it was, oh, these people are figuring out how to be a family, or these people are figuring out how to be a government or a society, or how, you know, what the role of a boss is and what the role of an employee is. You know, the sort of the joke on the show was that they were doing all this stuff for the first time, so it had to be kind of sorted out, and, right. And it was very rudimentary, and you know, and Earl and Roy were dummies, and so them talking it through was always very funny.
Yeah.
Rich, were there people in the room that were more comfortable writing for certain characters and you played off each other, or did you share that?
You know, the funny thing is I actually was hired originally as a script coordinator. So for me, being around these guys was such an incredible lesson about writing. Right. I mean, basically I had a front seat to watch the most creative writers in the business. I mean, I hit the jackpot, and it was Victor who recommended me originally, because we had just gotten off another show. And I walk into this room and these guys really have no boundaries. Nobody took a character, although everybody could do the characters' voices. It was really quite an amazing thing to watch, because these guys were not just people who put things on paper. They were people who voiced the characters in the room to make it come alive. So I had a front seat to watch, you know, Tim, Rob, Victor, Dave, and Brian, who are not here, and Dava just really develop these amazing no boundary characters.
How many writers were there at one time? I mean, we only have a few of you here who are amazing writers, and people should look them up and see the body of work that you guys have created. But how many were there?
You couldn't get these people in the same room again. There's no way you could get this writing staff.
But we hate each other.
Even after the
Never
show.
be in the same room.
Never would, Rob?
We hate each other. It was I mean, it's a tribute to Michael and the people around him. He hired a really strong staff. That was a very strong staff. And I'm not sure who put that together. By the time we got there, obviously it was all done, but there's a lot of good minds in that room.
Jeff McCracken had a lot to do with it, and Don Tarnowski. I don't know if Don Ostroff now. I don't know if they're not here, are they?
No, we tried tracking people down, and you guys know I had a hard time trying to find some of you, and but I'm so glad you're here.
Nobody's blaming you for anything, Bill. It's okay.
Not on the air anyway.
Well, speaking of doing voices in the room, great little segue for us. But I know, Tim, you did a voice actually on the show. Did anybody else do a voice in the show at all? Did Victor?
I did a bunch of them.
You did?
Yeah, I did Charlene's date with a really low voice. Hello, Charlene.
Oh, right.
In one episode. But Tim did the best one. He did the crazy guy in the refrigerator.
Yes.
Yeah, the general.
So, Charlene, so good of you to come to our little party.
Yes. And we did, when there was an opportunity, we were all, eager to make that extra $80, or whatever.
We were talking about the characters. And one thing I remember was we got a lot of mileage. At some point, we discovered we could get a lot of mileage out of a Robbie Earl conflict. The father-son thing was a big, deep vein in the show because he was the old-fashioned, stodgy one who had to let go of his hidebound ways, and Robbie was the visionary who could see how things could be. And I don't know, when it came to the social satire, we went to that well a lot. It was pretty good.
Where did Richfield come from? Anybody know?
He was in the pilot. That was a Michael Bob creation.
Okay.
The great Sherman Hemsley.
Yes.
That's great.
Fantastic.
But we kept refining the voice. I mean, we would delight in the ways he would criticize them. I'm gonna bite your head off and suck the blood from your neck like a sports bottle.
And the best,
I'm gonna cut off your scrotum and use it to play hacky sack.
And the design was so beautiful, and the performance. Steve Whitmire and Leif Tilden doing that thing together, and Dave Greenaway doing the eyes and he was my favorite character actually from the show. He was just an awful person, and I just loved him. And Sherman's voice fit just perfectly. Whoever ultimately cast that, was that Brian? Who ultimately? Oh, there he is. There's BP Richfield.
Well, I think Michael and Bob were
ultimate casting kind of.
But they were. I mean, I guess we were all working hard to find great cast, but I think it was really Michael and Bob that were hearing it the most in their heads. And but when Sherman came, it was so clear that it was going to be great.
I'd like to meet some of these people doing the voices, some of the other voice actors.
Boy, wouldn't it be nice if there were some here?
We could at least get maybe two of them and someone else who worked in. Oh my goodness! You ask,
well, wait a minute.
Receive.
Oh my goodness!
Hey.
Who was that gentleman there? Yeah, not the mama. That's not the mama. Can you tell us who you are, sir, and what is your role in this television show?
My name is Stuart Pankin. I started out as a writer and a gynecologist. I decided to go into show business. I actually read for the voice in the refrigerator, but they said, no, Doyle is brilliant. So I ended up doing Earl. And
that's right, Earl.
I still have part of him.
Earl Sinclair. And Kim Rosenfeld?
Yeah, I worked with Michael and Bob on a previous show, and they said, come work on this this little thing that we're doing. And I said, sure. They said, it's gonna be really easy, totally manageable. And ended up being the most ambitious show I've ever worked on. It's an amazing show. The way I describe my job is once everything was shot on stage, we got rid of all the audio and created a bunch of visual effects, and I was responsible for a lot of that, as well as washing Michael Jacobs' car.
Ah, nice.
I think that's everybody. I think that's everyone.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think that's it then. No, Mr. Kevin Clash. What was your part in all of this?
I was the baby. Actually, you know, what was so funny is Brian said, listen, I want you to come and try out Ethel and Richfield. Because he said, you know, you did Elmo, and you did Dinosaurs, you did, you know, the Ninja Turtles, Splinter, and older. Right. And he said, you know, do you really, you probably don't want to do another young, you know, thing. So I came out there and I played around with it, and it wasn't, neither one of those would kind of work. And I actually did a little bit of Ethel. And then I put on the baby, and all I just kept saying is, stupid, 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 you know, pertaining to all his parents. And it worked. It worked.
Wow.
And so I got stuck with a young puppet again, young baby.
No, that's true. That's true. At the time, Kevin had just been doing Splinter, and it was so successful in Ninja Turtles. And after having done Elmo, the most famous baby character in the world, at the time was the most famous baby character in the world. It did feel like, should Kevin really be doing the next most famous baby character in the world? Same.
Well, what happened is, let me tell you what happened.
The attitude was so different.
No, Michael made me go into his office, and he closed the door, and he said, "Okay, do Elmo's voice," and I did it. And he said, "Okay, do Baby's voice," and I did it. He said, "Okay, they're different," and then he let me out of his office.
And it's all in the attitude, right? In the character.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
What do you base that on, Jack? I almost called you my son's name because you were my son in Dinosaurs. But what do you base the baby's personality on? Was it in the writing? Was it all right there for you? Do you base the baby on something? Yeah.
Oh, for me, definitely, it was the writing. I think the funniest thing, when we were doing the opening, the first, you know, introduction of all of them, Michael was sitting right off camera with me. And we were doing the different, you know, the different wraparounds for, you know, the show, the first show. And he, at one point, we didn't know what to do. So he just said, just say, I'm gonna bite you now. He said, and somebody, I'm gonna bite you now. And just, you know, it was all these just throwing in all of these, you know, just things. He was there right beside me saying, do this, try that, you know.
Right.
And I love that. I love the spontaneity of that. I mean, everything, you know, there was an outline, but we still played around a lot too.
Yeah. And Stuart, I'm curious who you based Earl on. Was it also in the writing, but where did you draw that character from? Because he evolved a little bit, right, too, as far as your portrayal of him. I think he was angrier in the beginning or something, and then, right? Oh, can I just say, I'm fortunate enough to share this character with you. We are each a third of Earl. I was the sweaty third. You were the vocal third.
And Mac.
And Dave Goles in the first season, and then Mac Wilson, of course.
You know, I can't believe that I haven't seen my dad in like 30 years.
Oh, well, there he is.
I've seen him.
You haven't changed in 30 years.
Right? I know. Look at him.
You're a damn fine-looking man. And I mean that in a platonic way.
But how was it for you to change? What was that character like for you to do?
Well, a lot of people talk about the Flintstones and whatever, All in the Family. I based Earl on a character in Long Day's Journey into Night because I thought it had the pathos and the depth. No,
come on.
The voice. There was an singer called Davy Burns. You're all too young to remember him. You know, oh, the time has come for parting. He was in a great movie called, I can't remember the name, but that's kind of the voice that I came in with. And you're right. It started to be angry. Michael actually, He actually asked me to do plastic surgery to reduce my chin so that it would be like that character that he liked. That of course I refused. But yes, it was in the beginning. Mike kept saying he's big, he's angry, and we had some discussions about that. And then later, as it evolved, it not only was this, but it was like, friend, you know, are you this and that?
He got sweeter.
Come on, friend. Like, you know, so it had different things, which made it very fun to play. And of course the words were so fun to say.
Well, and you also have to realize, with the exception of Kevin, who is, you know, the puppeteer and the voice, all the other voice artists were not actually crafting the visual performance. So unlike looping a performance that they might do or an actor might typically do, they were having to figure out how to sort of embellish and add to an existing physical performance and, you know, create dimension to that, which was, to date, I don't really know a process like that. And that was an evolutionary process, as Stu was referring to.
But also I think there was a, you know, when it came time to shoot it, there were so many variables and things that could happen on the stage that you couldn't maybe perform in a script or that was expected to happen. And so the organic side of that also came out because the puppeteers were, you know, finding the moments as well as the performers. And I think, but it would start there and then it would grow and change and then come back. And then then on top of that, the voices would come in and embellish even more. So it just kept growing and kind of changing in a beautiful way. Sorry, Stuart.
Well, I'm just going to say what Brian said. In cartoons, animated stuff, you do the voice first, and then the artist, the cartoonist, then match the picture to you. In Dinosaurs, the voices came first because the puppeteers were moving the astounding servo mode, whatever you call them. And now Mac,
except for guest artists.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. But with Mac, like if I had a puppeteer, and they're all great, all the handsome people are great, everybody knows that. But if I had somebody that sounded a lot like me, it would be kind of difficult. But it was nice because Mac was up here like this, you know, honey, I'm home, you know, kill somebody for me. And when that's true, you know that.
That's right. Yeah, he was
so
he was doing like this kind of thing. He was doing like.
Well, he was way up here, and he always had his nose up here, and he looked like this, which was great. You know, except that for me, it's like, oh, thank God he wasn't good. You know, he wasn't deep and low and dinosaur-like, or I'm out of a job.
Out of a job, yeah.
Yeah, so it was fun, interesting. I always used to say it was a job that I loved having, but was so difficult to do because you're sitting in a room with Kim, who didn't know shit. When he no, this man was incredibly useful and helpful.
Patient too, right?
And patient with me. And you're sitting in a dark room and you're replacing these voices, and you know, between the two of us and all the guys in the booth, you got something that we were happy with, and then we moved on. So it's a great job, and I'm grateful to what's his name, Michael Jacobs.
That guy. Yeah. Can I ask? I'm curious. So here we're 30 years later. I'm curious what it would sound like if the baby were still living at home with Earl. What kind of conversation might that be? Maybe.
Daddy!
What?
I need the car.
You need the car.
I need the car. Give me the keys.
Your feet can't even touch the pedal, for God's sake.
Who the hell? Who cares? Just give me the keys.
All right, I'll give you the keys.
I want to go to McDonald's.
That was great, guys.
Won't be the first time.
That was great. Keys was about 2 frames out of sync.
Well, there are a number of people who are requesting some of those popular baby lines. If you would honor them, do you mind?
I'm the baby, gotta love me. Hello, fat boy. Not the mama, not the mama. I'm gonna bite you now.
Thank you. All right,
nice.
Well,
thank you all
thank
so much.
Our writers.
Yes, and please don't go away. I hope you'll stick around for a little bit longer, watch the rest of the show, and please stick with us to the end for our little toast. We're going to keep Stuart and Kevin and Kim and Brian with us, and we're going to bring on our next group, the most annoying people on the show. Here, and
with us. Hi.
Once we bring them on, yes.
Yeah.
There's some folks. There's some faces.
Here we are.
This collection of
Mr. Allen.
So guys, we're gonna go around the horn a little bit. I'd like to just, if you don't mind, please briefly say who you are and what you did on the show. I'm gonna start with Alan Troutman.
Hey guys, so I was Fran's puppeteer.
What does that mean?
So I would do basically everything from the neck up on
Yes.
Fran. So during production, I would do her dialogue and all of her facial expressions, and then that's it.
As well as other, what we called Unisaurs. And some
yeah,
other
that's
characters.
true. There were, the day players. There was a lot of there were a lot of characters that came on once or twice. I did Mr. Pullman, the science teacher, and there were some of those characters that it was great because I got to do the voice on that one too. So Mr. Pullman was just Charlene, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And there were a couple of other characters that were a lot of fun like that.
Awesome. Bruce Lanoil.
Yeah, I'm Bruce Lanoil. I did the animatronic head for Charlene with Sally Struthers and the great Michelin Sisti. And also I got to do a Unisaur Ed with Pons Maar and Jack Tate. And one of the greatest jobs anybody could ever have as an actor. It's been an amazing experience.
Let me just jump in. Let me jump in for a second. When you guys are talking about your jobs, your roles there, can you explain what you're physically doing for the viewers?
My main character was Monica de Vertebrae, the big blue brontosaurus head and neck, who looked like a head and neck. And and I operated her face. And she was unusual because she had a big team of people working. She was more like a film creature where there were a bunch of cables to move, and she was like a team of 5 or 6 people. I also did some of the hand puppets and some of the other creatures. I often helped with Roy's arms. I did Roy's little T-Rex arms.
Right, yes.
And Robbie's eyes I would help with. And
it's interesting. A lot of people don't realize whenever we saw Monica in the show, it was the neck and the head. There was no body, except sometimes there were shots outside where they had her back end and tail kind of coming into the kitchen side of the house or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, John Kennedy. I know you. You look so
Hey.
familiar to me.
Yeah, hey.
Cephas.
I did Baby Sinclair's eyes with Kevin. Kevin did the mouth and the voice, and then I did pretty much everything from here up. I got to perform Sid Turtlepuss, the Unisaur with Michelin Sisti, and I got with I did the eyes and lips of Spike with
Right.
Dave Greenaway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Sisti, you busy? What's the matter? You busy? Oh,
I'm just catching up on my soldering. Sorry, let me put that.
Oh, well, I can come back to you. I can come back to you if you like.
Okay.
You all right? Oh, okay. Pons Maar?
Hello.
Can you tell us?
It's actually soldering.
I will tell you. I actually assisted Brian for the original casting of the puppeteers and the suit performers early on. In the show, I was inside Roy. I was in the suit, which meant my hands were up here, and someone else, usually Julianne, was doing his little hands. Dave Greenaway was my head's puppeteer, and Sam
McMurray.
Sam McMurray, yeah, great voice. He did Roy's voice. I was also in Ed, one of the Unisaurs. And a Unisaur, which people may not understand when we say day player, that was a character that was in a script. We had 3, I think, Unisaur suits, and there would be alterations to the suit, different wardrobes, some kind of weird appendage off a head or something, and we would play different characters depending on the need of the episode.
Which I love those characters because it did actually remind me of the Honeymooners, where some of the same actors would play different people, like the mailman or the doctor. And I just love that there was a rotation like that. It was so fun. Can we go back to Misha? Now, are you finished?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, thanks. It's cool.
Can you tilt down your camera a little bit so I can see a little more of your soldering if you go back to it?
Or just grow a little. Yeah, show us your
Hey,
soldering.
Mish, who are you?
Hi, I'm Michelin Sisti. I had the privilege of being, in addition to Pons, a Unisaur many, many times. I was Sid Turtlepuss and got to do Sid Turtlepuss, and Sid was many other characters as well. And I also had the very great privilege to be inside of Charlene, in a platonic way.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome. And I'm sorry, I can't. The
Misha,
spelling.
with Misha, you should just say Misha came straight off of Ninja Turtles, because Misha was doing Michelangelo, was performing inside Michelangelo and Ninja Turtles. So he was one of the folks that we made move to London, LA. It was like, you have to now move to LA.
It's true.
And
It's true.
another turtle. Go ahead. Sorry, Misha.
I was just going to say,
Okay.
it's true. He said, don't pack your bag yet. Don't pack the bag yet. So just keep it handy.
Someone else coming off the Turtles movie is our friend Leif Tilden.
Hello.
Who's in?
There you are.
Hi.
Leif Tilden. What did you do? What did you do?
I was. That's a very good question. There's so many ways I could answer that.
Yeah. Let's go with the first season. What did you do?
Please go. So I physicalized Robbie Sinclair. I was inside the suit for Robbie, and I was the arms of Richfield.
Yes, yes. Another person I stuck next to. Actually, we lived together, but I followed his lead on a lot of this stuff because I was very unfamiliar with how to maintain being inside of something and actually finding a way to, not go too over the top. Although my first season, I think it was ridiculous. I was so big, but took a lot of lessons from watching Misha and Leif and their subtlety. And so appreciate all of that. Going to Mr. Jacques Tate. Jack Tate.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jack Tate. I was a utility supernumerary. I was in Ed's when when Pons was not in Ed, and I was in Gus, and I did a couple of the voices.
Yes.
They used to throw us little bonus stuff. Like you said, getting your $80 that week. The voices, and it was the best job of my life. It was my favorite thing I ever did.
Well, and if I just have to say it, but you are an anonymous, very famous person that people don't realize.
I'm not
Jack,
a celebrity. But I play one on TV.
Jack is in fact Jack in the Box. Let's just let people know.
25 years.
Yes. Wow. And then we have Mr. Ricky Boyd. Hi.
Hi.
Tell us all about yourself. What you doing?
Sure. I am in Georgia at my sister's house.
Ah.
And it's
there for lunch.
Yeah. I've got a ceiling fan. You maybe can see. I was brought on in season 3 and 4 primarily to be the hand puppeteer for Grandma, and I worked with Dave Greenaway, who did the controls for the face, and then of course Florence Stanley did the voice.
Well, when you say hand puppeteer, you were also inside of that character.
Yeah, I was inside, but underneath she's a fairly large puppet, but I would get inside the chair, her wheelchair or seat, and a little fiberglass seat, had a car battery in there and a television. and I would sit down, and then they would strap the puppet on top of me. So I wasn't really physically inside the body like you were, but she was sitting on top of me.
And you, sorry, you did other characters as well?
Yeah, there were a couple of Unisaurs. I remember Ray Gherkin Jr. was the custodian at the school that wanted to date Charlene.
Yes.
And that was Jack Tate inside. And then there was Pearl Sinclair, which was Tom Fisher, which was Earl and Drag.
That's right.
And I can't remember the lady that did the voice for that. But anyways, and then various hand puppets.
Yeah. And, just while we're on Ethel, can we just, Brian also performed Ethel, right, Brian?
Well,
you were under there.
Yeah, I started. I was doing so many different things. Yeah, I did start Ethel, and I did her for most of the first season, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was doing so many different things. She was a cool one because she was a hand puppet and animatronic, kind of like Baby, kind of like Richfield. It was kind of nice, the more of those that we brought in. But yeah, so I was, doing her in the first in the first season, which was always good fun. But I just got to say, that ceiling fan in Ricky Boyd's house is so impressive. It's like, that thing is like, that ceiling fan's the size of the room, or it's right over your head, in which case, don't stand up quick, because it looks...
No, it's like
the bald spot.
Take him out.
It's like an airplane prop.
Yeah. Then can we go to Terry Hardin?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, my name is Terry Hardin, and I'm Team Baby Sinclair. I was the arms, which means I did this, or I did this. It was the mechanics. A lot of times I was almost super glued to Kevin. Right to your back, Kevin. It's good to see you. And John Kennedy. It's all about collaboration. And, you know, we were just all this team. And I remember doing tons and tons and tons of eyes for various characters. And then with Ricky Boyd, we did students' hands during one of them. I have a great picture of us raising our hands, and they're all puppeted and stuff. And then hand puppets, et cetera, et cetera. But really, the thing I remember most is just that we were all such a huge, amazing, interactive team. And it just was so impressive that you had so many people interacting and being together. And then Baby was just a joy to perform so much. I love doing it with Kevin and John.
Awesome. Hey, Tom Fisher.
Hey,
What's happening?
I was brought on the show to get into somebody else's sweaty suit. And I did.
Who?
I also played his sister, Pearl, and a lot of ancillary characters. Mr. Pullman was one, and it was a lot of fun.
Again, a lot of Unisaur supporting characters, all those different characters.
So
Bill
brought
to life. I got all the offlines.
Tom, do you remember that the reason that we even knew about you was because you came to the audition with your wife?
Yes.
She had actually been auditioning, and you were just hanging out. And we're like, well, why don't we bring this guy in?
Yeah. She was pretty pissed off about that. We're not married anymore.
That's right. Yeah, she didn't get the job, and it broke up the marriage, but you got a job out of it.
I wanted to ask Stuart. Stuart, when you would come to, like, I don't know how often you had a chance to visit the set while we were shooting. Just curious what that perspective was like as a person who's coming to watch all of this insanity kind of unfold.
Oh, it was great. It was exciting. I mean, to look at that set and the raised platforms and the large props. I remember going there any number of times, putting on your head once and saying, "Oh dear God, Bill, God bless you," because it was hard. And when my kid was at school, we used to have charity giveaways. And one of the most successful ones, and Michael and Disney, I guess, said it was okay to let them bid on a trip to the set of Dinosaurs. And that happened any number of times. So these kids and their parents used to come and just walk around the set. It was magic. It was absolutely magic. And it was a great job. It was a great experience.
And insane.
And even Kevin was great.
He was okay. But so Gene, I'm just going to throw out a question here. What was it? How did we communicate while we were shooting? And I just want people to imagine at least 2 people per character and a family of 5. What was it like to communicate when you're about to do a shot?
It was about like this. Everyone was talking at the same time. What do you mean, Dave? You do this forever. Move over there? Or what are we doing? Are we doing the same shot? Are we doing a different one? I don't know.
You okay, Misha? You okay? Can you hear me, Misha?
And we get the head out. What?
We have to be able to see you when you get up.
Christ.
Be private.
Speaking of the sweaty, what it was like in our heads, because we all had headphones and microphones. And that's what it really sounded like in there.
For somebody who wasn't on the set, I was on the set any number of times when you guys were shooting. And it was unbelievably impressive what people were doing with their hands and those servo motors. I didn't understand any of that until I saw it. And then people told me, oh, well, this one show, that could be highbrow up, and then another show, it could be lip down. You change the settings of the servo motors. I'm saying this is wizardry. This is just, and everybody seemed to like each other, and everybody did, despite that little cacophony, worked together so well, and it was fabulous to watch and see.
Sorry, I was just going to say, speaking of getting in the sweaty suits, I was there a lot, and I witnessed a lot of pain coming from working as a suit performer, and there was vomiting and fainting and and pulled muscles.
And that's
can you
just from
guys
the
talk
audience.
about that?
Well, what people don't know is that what you're seeing now, this is actually the third set of the cast. The first two casts, everyone, they all died and they were replaced pretty much the beginning of a new
Yeah, we should have a
season.
moment of silence for all the lost puppeteers.
No, you had everybody doing that like cacophony. That it's like an orchestra warming up where everybody's sort of like doing their riff and finding their note, and then they all come to the same note in unison. And it was really kind of this brilliant choreography when you actually got into a scene, when you have all those variables and everybody in sync. It was kind of miraculous. Just
Yeah, and the fact that the directors and the ADs and that crew could corral that kind of chaos that was all going on, all the different people involved with each character. And I don't know how we ever I think it was just, we were just like puppies. The buzzer would go and everybody would go, okay, time to go. Okay, cut. And then we'd move on to another.
Well, and
that was a little trick from the ADs.
Yes. That was Joe Moore chiming in. Hey, Gene,
should we have a video we would like to show you guys.
And if we can just clarify, Gene, so it may stutter and judder, but when we do the live stream tomorrow with the show, the image will be much cleaner and nicer. But I hope you can enjoy.
Could you define judder?
Did I say judder?
I'm just curious what that means. Is that a technical?
It's a technical term, Stuart.
It's jiggle and shudder. It's jiggle and shudder.
Yeah, jiggle shudder.
Judder.
All right, so let's take
Stand up and jump up and down. You'll probably judder.
G-camera mark?
Haven't you ever been in that kind of situation where, you've been inside like a latex suit that weighs 100+ pounds?
Very nice. Very nice.
Does this make me look fat?
Not yet. Not yet, no.
Well, about me.
What are you trying to say? I'm old?
No, not at all, Mr. S. Man, would I say a thing like that?
Hi, I'm just here in the kitchen shop. And we're,
The opposite preference, we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We need 14. 14 and 1. 16 and 1.
It all started with 2 extra servos.
Did you say two
2
extra?
extra servos and lunch. I should have never had lunch. Let's try it. Too much brainwave.
It's Mr. Brando.
Good morning.
Just getting ready for his part here.
Hello.
Which part are you playing today, Mr. Brando?
Today I'll be playing the fat rubbery one.
Oh, let me get a look at you here.
Yes.
Oh.
We're putting on
This
sneakers.
Oh my God.
What they've done is they proportioned the skin to my body.
Oh, amazing.
So everything fits just right.
Yeah.
I mean, I fill out the costume perfectly.
Okay, so seriously.
Back to you, big fella. 7-0 hearts.
Oh wait, Jesus, the cops!
Oh wait, did the game end?
Yeah. No, they got busted. Put them away. Oh man.
Typical. Hey, I wanted to mention something. One of the scariest days I witnessed on the set was in an episode where you're swallowed by a huge creature. Do you remember the name of the episode by any chance? No, somebody on the chat will. But you decided you wanted to do a tumble salt down the throat of this creature. And knowing the weight of that costume, everybody was holding their breath when you did it because we didn't know whether you were going to snap your neck in half or not. So I have to hand it to you. That was pretty brave to doing something that heavy and that clunky. And he pulled it off, folks.
I guess I thought I was so padded that maybe I couldn't get hurt, but I really didn't think about it. I just thought it needed a big physical thing to make him look small in that big mouth, I guess. I don't know.
It was cool.
Should we show a couple pictures?
Yeah, let's do that. What do you want to bring up and explain?
I don't know. What do we have? Oh,
well, there we go.
Look at you.
Look at me. I look anemic.
You don't look anemic. You just look young. But look at that. Actually, you don't look much different. But look at the scale of the characters. So just to give people an idea of how big they were and how big our sets were, I think people were just blown away when they would come on our set because everything was so huge and scaled up. You know, it was pretty cool.
I think that was when I visited just before I moved out there. Yeah. What's next? Aha.
Oh, look at those guys. So there's a group of crazy people. There's Mac Wilson at the front, Steve Whitmire. So Mac was the animatronic head and character of Earl. Steve Whitmire, same animatronic head and character of Robbie. Bruce Lanoyle of Charlene. I think that might be Dave Greenaway all the way at the end there. But this was kind of their station. It would move around the set depending on where we were shooting. But all of this equipment would have to be moved around every day, every scene to different spots. And this is where the guys would do their programming and they would fix things. And this is where they would work from off camera while we were on set. So between them and us on the set were the cameras and the crew. And yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I love seeing all those people. I miss them so much in that last segment. They're just they just seem the same. They're all the same. They're all so cute. Oh, here's a good shot. There's Terry and Kevin. Looks like they're probably next to the baby's high chair. And there's Jane Gutnick sitting right there, foreground sitting up there. Jane Gutnick from the workshop. She amazing person. I can't tell who that is next to her, though. It might be Jean Guy, who was also part of the workshop. But Jane was always there, taking care of the baby, taking care of Ethel. Everybody works so hard. Anything else?
Another. Oh,
that was it.
Okay, we're going to show more. We'll show more at the end. Why don't we take a couple questions before we get back to our guests? What do we have there, Jason?
All right. So, Bill, whenever you were in the Earl suit and on the floor, did you have a hard time getting back up?
Oh, yeah. I had to have people help me get up. In addition to him just being very wide and the head being heavy, there was a saddle inside. So when he would sit, there was a built-in saddle that I would sit on. And so that was always in there kind of between my legs. So I walked with a very wide span between my legs, but the weight just was, there's no way I could get up. I was basically like a turtle. Yeah. I couldn't get up without help.
Awesome.
Forgot about that.
What were some of the on-set complications or dilemmas that you guys had on a day-to-day basis?
Well, you'll be hearing some of that from the Creature Shop coming up, the people from the workshop. Heads breaking down. You know, these are mechanical beings. And so a lot of servos and wires. And I had something blew out inside of my head and there was smoke in there and I had to hold my breath until they got, I forgot about this, until they got the head off. This gaseous smoke from one of the servos went off and blew up. And, just people being exhausted. The crew worked so hard. Everybody worked so hard. You know, it was just about making sure people stayed safe. And because when you get that tired and you work that many hours, especially the workshop, they work the hardest. you can have accidents. And so fortunately we didn't have many, but a few times passing out, throwing up, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Well, and along those lines, what about on-site physical help? Did you guys have like a physical therapist on site or any other kind of medical attention to help you and support you?
Well, there wasn't one kind of official person the whole time. We did have people occasionally come in and would work on us. That kind of came in the later seasons. But I fortunately had a caretaker, dresser named Greg Hamlin, who was he was very much into health and well-being and making physiotherapy, and so he would just kind of work on me and work on other people. I know, Gene, you had a massage from him probably a few times, at least the neck thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very painful. He would
breaks
really
that he
get
made.
in there. Yeah, and then he would make a special little drink. We would have shots, little shot glasses, plastic shots, and it was apple cider vinegar, lobelia, and cayenne pepper, and it would just light you up. It would just hit your bloodstream and wake people up and kill anything that was probably trying to manifest in there. But and he would work on people and help people. Everybody's caretaker would help them, massage people. We're just amazing group of people. We all touchy-feely, huggy, fixy. Does anybody, we're always looking after each other, I think.
Come here.
Oh.
We're gonna have to change the rating of this show for adults only at this point. All right.
Before we get back to our friends,
you wanna do another one, or are you ready to?
we're gonna have a lot of time at the end of the show too. So why don't we get back to our guests and talk more about the show, and then we'll be back later for that.
This is our third segment, which is going to take us to the end. So we hope you enjoy it. Hang in there, and we'll see you on the flip side. Wow. Well, we hope you'll hang in a little bit longer with us. We're going to ask you to head back to the waiting room, enjoy the flowers and the food.
Quiche.
And we're going to We're going to invite our friends from the workshop and the creature shop to come on. So please hang out to the end if you can. We'd love to see you for the little.
We have cake and a tribute and a toast.
Yeah, cake.
All right. So why don't we bring in some people from the creature shop? We've got a bunch of them here we'd like to talk to. What can we do to make that happen?
Creature shop people?
Creature shop people.
I don't think they're going to want to be a part of this. What the?
They're coming in droves.
Look who it is. If you could click on your little audio. Oh, there it comes. It's coming on. Look at this group. Oh,
yes, we're droves. That's what we were. We're droves.
Hi, everybody. There's Julie. Hey, so I'm gonna, if you don't mind, just go around and ask you if you could just mention your name and just give us a brief kind of, sense of what you did on the show for our audience, and then we can kind of move into some other things. Can I start with Jill, please?
Hello, I'm Jill Thraves. I came onto Dinosaurs straight from Turtles with some of the same people. Day and I came on, and we were mostly on the set looking after the dinosaurs. I was mostly involved with Misha and Charlene. And then when Day left, I supervised the dressers. And it was such fun. That just reminded me what fun it was. Oh my God.
Oh, nice. Let me, I'm going to go to Marion.
Hi, I'm Marion Keating McCoyne. I set up the workshop. I had just come from Ninja Turtles production also. And we set up the workshop and got all of the costumes from London fitted. And we worked on the whole production for those many years.
Got it. Lisa Rocco. Hi.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see all of you. And a lot of people have been mentioning how teamwork and how we were all such a big team, but we were a family too. I mean, we really were. I mean, to get together 30 years after, we did it at 20 years, at 10 years. One of the things that I did was take care of Bill.
Thank goodness.
And Tony inside of Fran.
Yeah.
And basically our job was to make sure they stayed alive. We had to keep them hydrated, and we had to wear a timer, and every hour we'd have to pop their heads off. Their heads came off so that they could breathe and rest a little bit so they could go on and sweat some more. It was a lot of these guys, when they were wearing the suits, they couldn't see where they were going. You know, they, like Earl, he was looking through his neck. So he
Actually, interesting you say that, but I actually didn't see out of the neck. I saw out of the mouth when it was open.
Out of the mouth.
That was
sorry.
that was kind of the fun part, was that I always had to ask Mac when Earl would cross the room. Earl would go, just so I could see the next 5 or 6 feet ahead of me.
Yeah.
Get to the next mic. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Day Merch. Look at Day. Hi.
I'm Day, and Jill and I set up the dressing team. I don't like calling them dressers. The on-set care team.
Yes.
On-set care team, absolutely, right.
I only did the first series.
All right.
And I looked after Leaf.
And you looked after Leaf, that's, yes. And Laura Baker?
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Baker, and I worked on set with everybody, all the dressers. But my job mainly was to dress all the dinosaurs in the custom costumes that were made. And I remember every time I dressed Bill, he would sing to me. He would serenade me.
Laura, Laura.
So, and it was a terrific job. A lot of great memories, and we were family, and we're still a family. Yeah. Great.
And we have Julie Zobel with us.
Hi, I'm Julie. I was a builder at the time back in the New York shop. And I got a call from Marion saying, you want to come out for 2 or 3 weeks? We got a few problems. We need to work the kinks out in Roy's suit. And I said, yeah, okay. I'm just like doing inventory of the thread drawers here, so why not? And that was in January of 1991. And I'm still in Los Angeles, so it's your fault, Marion. But, you know, there were, you know, people have talked about how hard this show was, and it was, but I think that we all knew we were making something that had never been done before. And so there was an excitement about doing that. But the fatigue part of it, the work, the hard part of it for us meant that for the women anyway, we discovered at some point that if we went from the basement of stage 18 up to it was 18, right? It was stage 18? Up to the restroom, which was on the parking level. And you didn't even have to go to the bathroom. You just needed some space to be alone. But you'd hear people crying in the stalls. it was the women from our team, you know. And so finally we had to stop going to that room, and and we found a patch of bamboo out by the LA River. And Marion was very generous. She said, you're welcome to have a nervous breakdown if you need to, but you got 5 minutes, so you're on the clock. Go.
That's great.
You get 5 minutes. Go have a breakdown, then come back to work.
It helped.
Oh, wow. And Peter Abramson.
Yes. I was an animatronics person. I wrangled heads and rebuilt Robbie on season 3. Was that when we did the full rebuild?
I don't know.
I can't remember. We took all the heads and completely built them from scratch again. Dinosaurs was like my 3rd or 4th film job. I'd done a couple of movies beforehand. And strangely enough, my wife had got me the connection to get the job through Cheryl Fetko, Chuck's wife. But what was even funnier is that my wife went to school with Michael Jacobs back in high school. So I didn't get the connection and get the job through that, but
Right.
Wow. We worked for John Criswell basically on the whole time of doing the mechanics, and dealing with all the servos and the cable controls and all of that. Showing up at, what did we show up at? 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, and then left sometime at about 2 or 3 a.m. on a Saturday.
Well, that's I wanted to ask, I think people need to understand that, and at least as far as I'm concerned, I can't think of anybody else, but I think the hardest working group were the people in the workshop and the caretakers day. Is that correct? Can I say caretakers?
That's nice.
Got it. And the caretakers on set, because you guys came in the earliest, so we were on stage 10, that's where we shot Dinosaurs, but the workshop was stage 18, and that probably felt like a mile away because, well, I'll let you guys explain it, but so can someone take us through the process of what time you got there, what needed to happen to get everybody going in their suits and all the animatronic stuff, and then wrapping that up at the end of the night? Can anybody kind of?
So in the mornings, we would show up and the heads, Big Mike would have been there probably painting, and Marion would have been cabo patching like skin bits that were torn from the night before. They were all being finished, touched up, painted, get loaded in the back of a stake bed on the backside down by the river of, it was a van down by the river, the back behind the stage. And then we would take all of the heads that were meant for that day's worth of shooting and drive them up onto the top of the hill up to stage 10, unload. You guys would show up, start getting dressed, and everybody else would start putting you guys in your suits.
But that was just the heads, right? The suits were a whole
I
other
was just
thing,
dealing with
right?
the heads. The suits was a
The
whole other
suits had to get there.
Yeah, Jill, what was it
Also
like
on the
moving those
stake
suits
bed.
around?
Well, we had some lovely trolleys that I think were made by Greg Hamlin that were all loaded onto the stake bed. The stake bed would do another trip up to the stage and they'd get all unloaded, and we'd have checked everything, and we had to set up the space. We might be in different spaces from time to time because of the set changes. And then
because I remember thinking, how can you guys, you bring all of the suits and the heads, but once you get on the stage was also raised. So then they had to be raised up onto the stage. Then they had to be taken down off of the stands that they were in. Then we get in them. You guys would take care of us, make sure we didn't die. And then by the end of a 13 or 14-hour day, you'd have to take the big wetty suits and put them back up onto the carts. Take them all back down, dry them, put them in a drying room. I mean, it was endless. I don't know how you guys survived. No wonder you were having breakdowns.
they often had to be dried at lunchtime as well. We'd set up the fans at lunchtime to dry them out.
That's right.
We had a short lunch.
The arms, especially the arms. Were...
But we'd sleep in the trolley. Remember, Jill?
Yeah. I did not. No.
We had that. We also had that little room in the back on the stage, on top of the stage, that was like our mechanical repair room.
Yeah.
Because remember, heads would go down, and we would have to quickly swap out a head because we were being yelled at that every 10 minutes was costing $100,000. That if we had a head was broken, it was costing that much to the production.
But it did get better.
It got much better. Season 3 and 4 were much more solid.
Yeah.
I was hoping, I thought John might have made it, but unfortunately, I guess he couldn't make it today. But John Criswell, I know he certainly, when Peter, you were just mentioning about redesigning things, but I know he saved my neck literally when we changed from whatever they were made of at first to carbon fiber skeletons. Is that right? It was carbon fiber?
So originally it was a lot of fiberglass. Bondo was in there. A lot of dental acrylics. So the heads got very heavy because there was a lot of extra sort of material. And we went with thinner shells or underskulls, basically, that were the skin laid on top of. And we made structures out of carbon fiber that went on top of your head that held all the servos so that we could have a much lighter, stronger structure inside your head and to save you.
Greg Hamlin, who couldn't join us, he gave the best shoulder and neck massages. I stole a few, even though I didn't do any of the work, but he was known
He
for
could kill you with those as well.
He did. Oh, that's what I was going to say. My version of that was a lot of pain, and also he had a little he would create these little health shots. Do you guys remember those?
Yes.
Apple cider vinegar, lobelia, and cayenne, and we would do a shot of it.
And pepper, yeah.
And it would like wake us up again. It was amazing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hey, we have to kind of move on to our next group, but please hang in there if you will. Stay with us. And
bring on a couple of the directors of the show.
We'll bring you back. Yes. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
We'll see you soon.
Brian, did you hear the one about the guy who didn't shave?
No, tell me about the guy who didn't shave.
He really needed a director on his side to make it happen.
Yeah. I didn't have anything, obviously. Could you tell?
I kind of could tell.
But that's me.
Hey, what do you get when you take two directors and throw them into a Zoom webinar?
I don't know, Jim. What do you get when you take two directors and throw them into a Zoom webinar?
Watch this.
We have with us Tom Turbovich and Bruce Bilson. Yes,
director of the show.
Hey, fellas.
Yeah.
Oh, so good that you're here. So glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Hey, so I guess I wanted to ask you guys what it was like to have to kind of corral the chaos in a sense. There, normally I guess you're working with actors as individuals, right? So let's say even if you've got a family of 5, you're dealing with 5 people basically, right?
And they don't have tails.
And they don't have tails.
Part of aging, not to trip over tails and be able to move actors around.
That's right. That was part of the blocking, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think that was something that we didn't see that one coming, that none of the dinosaurs could back up, which we never saw. And if you think about it, when you're acting, it's like, oh, you're going to step forward, so you're going to line, then you're going to ease back to let somebody come in front of you. And because the dinosaurs had tails, they couldn't walk backwards. So they'd have to come up with an excuse to turn around, walk back, and then turn around again.
Brian, they walk backwards for me. Being a close-up.
Oh, yeah.
Or they just missed
one
close-up. Yep.
Well, aside from backing up, I couldn't see. So that was my big issue.
You couldn't see going forward either, so.
No, sir. Forward or backward. Didn't matter.
I think the big part about directing dinosaurs that I'm sure these guys will confirm was that the wonderful process of having a whole plan of what you were going to do, and you come in on Monday morning at 7 in the morning, 7:30 maybe, and then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you still haven't gotten a shot off because the puppets are broken down, and so now your plan is just for shit, and you have to come up with some other way to shoot the day. I mean, that was the thing with dinosaurs. It was so ambitious, and there were so many variables that any plan was gonna fall apart. You had to have a plan, but then you had to really quickly reinvent the plan constantly every day during the day just to get the show shot.
I found, Brian, it really wasn't a job of directing. It was more being a traffic cop. If you just get out of the way and let it all happen in front of you, somehow.
I don't know about that. I think you did a lot more than just that. How about you, Bruce?
Well, first of all, I have to say, this was the second best show I ever worked on, and it was really a favorite. The only one that rates a little above it was being assistant director on the Andy Griffith Show, the first 2 years.
Wow.
That's with the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. There's a whole thing over there. I've been down to Mayberry Days a 3 times. But outside of that, this became my favorite show. And I did.
How much How much difference was there between the dinosaurs you worked with and Don Knotts?
I think, I'm not going to even answer.
All right, how about Dinosaurs and Aunt B?
Ain't B, if you will.
Or Otis.
Now, let's talk dinosaurs.
Yes. So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I wanted to, yeah, go ahead, Tommy.
Well, I was going to say my first day on the job, I'll go back a little bit. Jeff McCracken called me in and was interviewing me for the job of directing. And she explained everything to me, brought me around, introduced me to everybody. And I thought, oh my God, well, this will never happen. Like 3 days later, he calls and says, can you come in next week? I go, whoa. Well, thanks to Rob Euland, I got to do my first show was Hurling Day.
That was your first one.
That was my first show. I remember I have the boss in a chair, wrapped in latex, pushing it up the hill. And it's about 4 hours in, and I've gone about 10 feet, and I'm stuck. 20 years of directing, and I'm just like looking. I count backwards from 10, and I go, that's a wrap. We went home and came back the next day. It was,
Wow.
But
would you say it was a lesson, unless you already had it, but was it a lesson in patience, you would maybe say this show might be?
I don't know. I've never been stumped in my entire life. I was stumped. But it came together the next day when I got to come in with fresh eyes and stuff, and we did it.
Right.
But I mean, and you know what? It was a group effort on absolutely everybody's part. Everybody, if they weren't given 100% on every shot, I mean everybody, it just didn't work.
How much prep time happened before you actually stepped on the stage to shoot?
Bruce?
Well, it wasn't a lot of prep time because it was more with the props you were dealing with and so forth. Prep time on how you're going to shoot it.
I don't know, what, we shoot 3 days and we were paid for a week. We had 2 days with the script in our hand. Wasn't that about it?
What?
I shot 6 days, I can tell you that. I shot for 6 days.
The day, they said the last director just
shot for 5 days an episode, but we did the number of hours of 6 days in 5 days. We often would wrap on a Friday night after midnight because we were doing more than 12 hours of shooting a day.
And turnaround. And then we'd get up, right? The next day was later, and each day it got later. And the next day was later.
Because with the 12-hour turnaround, which actually no 11-hour turnaround. We even got the unions to allow an 11-hour turnaround, even though we were on stage. And but we would still come in at 7 a.m. on Monday, and then on Tuesday probably 9 a.m. On Wednesday probably about 11 a.m. Thursday 8 p.m. And then Friday we might come to work at 3:30 in the afternoon, and then work till 5 or 6 in the morning on Saturday morning, and then wrap, and then turn around for I can remember on a Friday night shooting so late that Joe was saying to me, we got to wrap because now we're pushing Monday's call because we were going so late into Saturday.
I can remember Friday nights at the bar across the street there.
Oh yeah, Santa Pietro's.
I got out early on my shoots on Friday.
Actually,
hey, you know what? Thank goodness I met my wife. That's where I met Chris.
Absolutely true. Tommy would always stay on schedule so that we could get the drink over at Santa Pietro's.
Should we?
Should be that bad.
Hey, Bruce. Bruce,
Yeah.
can I just want to ask. I wanted to ask Bruce a question real quick. So, do you remember a specific episode, maybe that was, I don't know, unique or special that you thought, wow, I could do this. You know, I could keep doing this. Was there? Or I don't know, is there anything that sticks out, an episode, a show that you love to direct?
First of all, the two-parter is just my
Nuts to War.
And this morning, I got to tell you, this morning I put it in. I have the discs made from my old shows and watched the beginning of it. And I suggest you all do, because it's about Donald Trump, I swear to God. The beginning of how they get into the war. And We Are Right, which I love.
We Are Right, that's right.
But the first thing I get to work on this show, this is what I did. You guys remember?
Nice.
Go a little to your left so we can see it. Go a little to your left. There.
Back up.
There you are.
There we go. Yeah. Cool.
That's on my wall. I took it down.
So should we, just to back up some of these production stories, should we add our last group to the conversation and bring in the crew?
Yes, let's bring
How
on
do we do that?
your friends in arms.
Well, I got a story or two.
Please,
First of all, my son, who is now 43, you can tell was 12 and 13, and his school was not far from the set. And Kevin will remember this, I think, when the baby said hello. I remember it. And that kid spent so much time on the set, he almost failed 5th grade. He was here today. And there were so many pieces to learn on that show to do it, to know how the floor worked. And you could take out a quarter or a half or whatever that was. And standing next to the puppeteers and hearing the dialogue, watching out for tails, as I mentioned earlier, and the material. The material was so wonderful. And that was it. And everybody was wonderful. The creature shop, and giving you guys a break to take your heads off, and the kids who were there to help you, and just the whole thing. The weird thing is, Stu Pankin is a friend of mine and has been for years, and I hope he's hanging around. But it was just great. I did 17 of them, and I know you did a lot more, Tom, but it was my second favorite job, and I'm so happy I was part of it.
Oh, well, so are we.
Too. Thing you did before anything in pre-production, you'd have a pre-production meeting and talk about the props and so forth. I can remember this. I said, we were having a feast at a table, and I told them, I need a bunch of potatoes on the table with give me some carrots and some a little of this and a little of that. Well, I go in and I look at the table. They got it all dressed. They got 10 pounds of potatoes. And I go, I said I wanted potatoes on this table. 10 pounds of potatoes? Go out and get me some potatoes. I go out to my car that night to get in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
With potatoes. Right up to the seat, right up to all the way across the seat and everything. Everything to get in the car. And I still had potatoes growing under my seat when I sold it.
Oh my God, that's great. Hey, look, we have to bring, I think we have Joe Moore here and we have Ronnie Chung, but I think we have there we go. Here comes Kevin. So we have, if you'll just say who you are and what you just briefly did on the show, that would be great. Let's start with you, Joe.
First assistant director, prepped each episode, well, the ones I worked on, and scheduled and coordinated the production.
Do you remember how many episodes? Too many?
No. I mean, I did all of Bruce's. I think almost all of Mark Brule's. I did Brian's. I didn't do one with Tom. I like Bruce. This is by far, the Dinosaurs was my favorite experience in 40 3 years of filmmaking next to working on Romancing the Stone or Stir Crazy. The features I worked on were amazing. The TV series, except for the Bernie Mac show and Dinosaurs, absolutely my favorites. But but
awesome.
working with all seriously working with all you guys, and definitely working with Bruce Bilson, our sergeant, was an absolute amazing pleasure. Brings tears to my eyes.
Thank you, Joe.
That's beautiful, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm done. Gotta go.
No, don't go anywhere. You stay right there. Kevin Haggerty.
Hey,
what's happening? What's going on?
First of all, it's great to see everybody. This is the family, and great memories. Boy, Turbovich, Bruce, wow, everyone. Thank you, Bill, for getting everyone together.
Haggerty, you haven't changed a bit. It's amazing.
Same with you. Barney. You look great. Everyone was great.
Kev, let everybody know what you did on the show.
I was part of the camera department, and I was the fortunate one to do the test way back when, as we talk about. And I did the camera test. And first of all, I was raised here in Los Angeles, so I'm certainly a Henson lover of the Muppets. So for me to do this test was just, I was in awe, and everything went well. And Robert Collins, who was our cameraman way back when, Emmy Award-winning DP for Miami Vice. How about that? But Robert goes at the end of the day, hey, Kevin, you want to do the show as our second? Which I'm responsible for the film back then, So I was in awe and honored. And then once we did the first episode, and I moved up to first and focus pulling, and going back to being basically, I remember all the different Bruce, you telling me you guys are the money shot of the baby. Myself and Bob Schoenhut were B camera, and boy, what a great honor. And another thing I wanted to add to Bruce, years ago, Bruce told us that first of all, I was in awe of Bruce, going, he did Get Smart and all that great stuff, and said, Bruce, you worked on some of the greatest stuff in television history. And Bruce kindly said, Kevin, we're on a classic right now. And I just, that kind of stuff. And it really has been one of my favorite, if not my favorite project. Thank you for everything. Turbo, great seeing you, and much love. And Brian, what a lovely, another great, in fact, something I know Brian's very humble. He's also an excellent director. What he did say about it was, once you don't get a shot in until about 12 o'clock on Monday, you go, now what do we do? Well, let's make another cappuccino. But it's great seeing everyone. Thank you.
Hey, Ronnie.
Great to see you, Kevin.
Great to see you.
Tell us, Ronnie, what was it all about? Ronnie, how are you?
I'm good. I was Joe's second AD, and God, I think I was just coming off the movie Hook. So just finished working a year with Pirates and Lost Boys.
I remember that.
And I think Joe calls and, you want to work with dinosaurs? I thought, what? But it was such a joy working with you all. It was only a season, and to work with Tom and Bill, or Bruce and Joe, it was certainly a memorable experience, and it has stuck with me through the years. And I'm now line producing, and still line produce UPMing, and it's, I only get better because I learn from all you guys.
Wow. I want to ask you guys, and really maybe Joe and Ronnie and Kevin, well, I guess everybody really, but again, I'm just curious what it was like to try and corral this set. I mean, I honestly don't know. You have to have patience of a saint, I would think. And
we did. Yes, we did.
How do you juggle, a cast that is at least 12 people minimum when you're dealing with a family unit? It's just crazy to me how you guys figured it out. I don't know.
Well, okay. Well, I could speak to that in that you have to have a sense of humor about this.
Yeah.
It's a comedy. And I have to answer to the likes of Mr. Bilson, who ran a strong ship, but we also all felt very sorry for you guys, Bill, Barretta, and me, and Leaf, and everybody. So we took, we just took the approach of, first of all, your safety was really, and that came later or even more so, your safety was of utmost concern. What I told my assistants was know where every single person is, because, you had all the puppeteers, the creature shop and all the performers, super performers, know where they all are. And so someone would radio me and say, Ronnie would say, Barretta is at the, craft service. Linoil is the,
everywhere. They're everywhere.
So we just we kept in constant communication. We kept humor about it. And it was an absolute pleasure.
I also you had a great team. I wanted to just, if we could mention Dirk.
Yeah.
Dirk Kraft.
Yeah.
Please.
He was, what an amazing spirit he was on our set, right?
And went on to become a television director. I mean, he went on to Nip Tuck. I mean, he went on, he did a few pilots with me. We worked together after Dinosaurs. And we ended up working with Shepherd Robin Productions, and we did a couple pilots for them, a series. And anyway,
he was just always light. You never felt that we weren't going to get through something. He had a personality that I would look up, sweating and pain, and he could just make you feel like it's okay. We're gonna, we're getting there.
Yeah.
And he'd just make you feel great about, again, being a part of this thing. It was just, again, an amazing spirit to have on that set. I'll never forget.
Bill, he came from the camera department. He was the glue at many times that kept us together, and it was what a great soul to have. He's one I miss greatly. You remember we used to play basketball back in there, he and I, and you remember those things? We had a blast. Great guy.
On that very sweet note, and speaking of very long schedules, I think it might be time to bring everybody back so we can toast and blow out a candle and toast to some people like Dirk. Why don't we bring everyone who's been on the show back with us? Get them all together at once.
Here. Yes, please come back.
I'm going to go grab something.
I need to grab the toast.
I'll lead the toast.
Can you get me?
I've been prepared for the last hour.
Thank you, Kirk. Thank you.
Give me a call.
I didn't make myself a drink or anything.
Nice joke. Nice.
I was told it was okay. I was told bleach or rubbing alcohol was okay.
And some ultraviolet light. You'll never get COVID. I have a Pure Royale. Pure Royale here.
You don't think I'm prepared? You don't think I'm prepared?
Oh, look at Joe's got it. Joe's ready.
There you go. He's not going to get the corona.
Sweet.
Brian, I had something from the set. Sorry.
Oh!
Hey, look at Lava Lager.
Okay, we're bringing up
brilliant.
from the set. Hold on.
Thank you, Brian. That was a gift you gave.
Nice.
Nice, Kevin.
I love Robbie's jacket.
Love it.
I have a little bit of coffee. I have a tiny bit of coffee.
with rum in it or something, right? Coffee with rum or something.
Oh, wow, the scavengers. That's awesome, Terry.
And then here's
right.
the script.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the script. Oh, Bruce has got a check. Look at Bruce has got a check.
Thank you.
Kevin Clash. I always wanted to. There you go.
That's the baby.
I also want to note that John Kennedy finally looks 25 years old. It's amazing.
Now, before
That's exactly the same.
Before you start the toast, we want to show you this final clip. Why don't you guys lead us into this clip?
Oh yeah, can you just take us into this clip together somehow?
Daddy, you have something to show us?
I do, honey. I've got a secret, modern, futuristic clip that I want to show you. You're gonna love it. You won't understand all the words, but you're gonna have a great time watching it.
When I come in the second time, and you know what? You don't have to really bang it. one time and back down is fun. That's okay too.
Really? Well, I think, you know, when it's faster, it might look okay.
Hello, Alan. Well, the whole D&N crew is here. What's up? Grab a spot. Grab a spot.
The walk-off, please stand still. Rolling. And we stand still. Rolling.
Let's go.
Got it.
Are you all right, Kevin?
That was such a sweet thing to
Is she gonna do it? We'll have a lot of time to soak things up.
You look really good today.
I'm gonna really miss you.
Oh no. This looks oh, that's really weird.
How embarrassing.
Is this a political thing? Is this government?
Rolling now. Stand still, guys. Hey! Primary, take one. A only. Mark.
Crossing.
Please. Here. Would anyone care for a refreshing beverage?
So both of these scenes, at least you think it's funny, that's important.
Yeah.
We use for live hands. We just this was built so we could do live hands, wasn't it? Remember we did live hands through the back of it.
Yeah.
Coffee out the windows. That was a great image.
Great job.
Lunch right now is 1:30 to 2:30. But if you want to check back at 2:25 to see if it's even longer, do that. Framed up, Mike? Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, gosh. Leave! Leave!
Speak to us.
Leave!
Speak to us.
Leave! Call me!
I'm okay. I'm all right.
Star, you're doing Charlene and Robbie. Oh my God. Okay, let's put heads on. Don't tragically arrive as thick black clouds of sulfurous gas and soot now shroud the entire planet, letting the sun to the sky.
George, you'd have a line to play Danny. That's what I do.
How many lines?
Page 27, bottom of the page, scene 18. Here we come. And action. Grab everybody's attention on somebody else's sick. Quiet first, please. Still going.
Quiet for the end.
Oh, that takes still. Finally, after all these years.
How's that working?
Head was that? Really cold. We didn't. Wait for I haven't seen that since the last time I got there. Come inside. Tony, hurry up. It's cold. Get in. Come on. Over here. My mother. I only allow her to make
Hey, please. You take a picture.
You're right. Make him stop that.
Put it over.
No, put the clip on. Put the lens clap on. He'll thank you later.
I'm gonna do it. Here he goes.
Can't do anything about it. That's what it's gonna be. Little movement flying across the beach.
It was unbelievably sweet and judderless.
Right? Judderless.
Judder free.
So if you could raise
God
your
Almighty,
glasses,
judder free.
if I could have your attention, folks, please raise your glasses. We'd like to. Oh, somebody came in. So I'd like to raise our glasses to some of our friends who have moved on, passed on, but will always be with us. There's the door again. They keep coming in and out. Amazing. Squeaky door.
Their spirits are coming in. The spirits are with us.
Let's try it one more time. Let me try it one more time without the squeaky door. Ready? Here we go. We would like to raise a toast to some of our friends who have passed on but will always be with us. Florence Stanley, Sherman Helmsley, Reza Badia, Bob Collins, Roger McCoyne, Dirk Kraft, Bob Schoenhut, Wanda Chanot, Ray Colcord, and of course, none of this without Jim Henson. So here's to them.
Cheers.
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 Cheers to the
I got a little
pleasure
choked
that
up. I got a little juddery.
Here's to Bill
You
and
would
Gene
look-
for putting
look
this
at that.
together. This was
We've got a
amazing.
cake.
Yeah.
We've got
Cake,
candles.
here's the cake.
Oh, look at the cake.
Oh, yay.
Now, what we would love it is if everybody on the count of three, we would love it if everybody on the count of three took a big deep breath and tried to blow that sucker out. You ready?
Okay.
Not too hard, Bruce. Bruce, not too hard.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We did it!
Honey, I'm home.
Thank you all. It's we can't thank you enough for doing this. I know it ran longer than we said, but
It's a mini series now.
it's a mini series.
Can be.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I think people would like to get a clearer picture of what that cake looked like. Why don't we bring that up?
Cake shot.
There's the cake.
Cake
before
shot.
it got destroyed. Before my son dug into it after the show.
I like the rocks you made.
Yeah, found some rocks. I thought it was appropriate. We got some more pictures to show.
Yes.
Look at this.
Oh, there's Chief. There's me. Still, I think this was literally. We just finished my last. Like I think I did the last close up of the show. Him looking out the window, and this was right after we finished. Everybody else had kind of, I think, gotten out of their stuff, and Leaf came over, and this was. Oh, I get emotional. Everybody's just hugging. You know, we just loved each other and still do. But it was such a great time. Yeah.
What's next? There you go. You can really see scale there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just waiting to do the next bit. Sometimes I didn't have to have my feet on, so you could see my tiny little sneakers down there. So when I didn't have to have Earl's big feet, if you didn't see them, we would keep our feet off because it was, at least for me, it was easier to get around. But yeah, just waiting to shoot.
What else? Got a couple more here. Oh, there's some creature shop.
All right. It looks like Mike Scanlon working on Roy's arms. his animatronic arms. There's Sid. I think that's Lisa Timonelli. That's Sid, one of the characters that Misha did a lot of different characters in, at the top right there. Bottom left is Marion Keating. She's working on Robbie. A lot of the skins would tear from just, movement. And so they were always repairing them, adding new rubber, repainting. I can't tell who that is in the middle working on Richfield. But then bottom right is Jane Gutnick working on Puppet Dinosaur. I think that character was used a lot, but I remember one time Julianne doing a news. I think she was part of the news team at some point. I don't know why I remember that specifically. Oh, and the baby's head is there, of course, too. So, yeah, nice.
What else we have here? And
is that it?
Oh, didn't we have one? Okay. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Like I mentioned, we're going to stick around after the show on the same stream to chat with you more. But we want to thank our team, Jason Friedman, Jason Thompson, Morgan Henderson. They did a great job helping us pull this together, and especially Billy, who had this monster job of finding everybody and coordinating everybody to make this happen. Bravo, brother.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, we couldn't have done this without our team, of course, getting us through this. We're just figuring all this stuff out, but this was quite the undertaking. This is a big one. Thank you for sticking with us. And if you're into hanging out for some more questions, we're going to sign off. But
hang on, before we do, let's just remind everybody, we have a great show next week, Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Frank Oz, Dave Goles. We had such a great time doing it, and I think you're going to have a great time. I know you're going to have a great time watching it. And please remember to subscribe so we can keep these things going at a great pace, bring on great guests.
Make them more. Subscribe so we can make them more.
All right, gang, thank you, and we'll see you on the flip side of this music. Bye. Bring that music. Coming. We'll be there in a second. And there we are.
Oh. And we came back.
There we are. Yep, people are hanging in there, and they've got some questions for us. Are we pulling them from the chat ourselves, or Jason, do you have a few that you pulled earlier that you want to ask?
I can give you some that came in a little bit earlier, and then if anyone has any more questions, throw them in the chat for us now, and we'll grab them and send them over to the guys.
Okay.
Cool. So
what do you got?
Cool. So one of the questions was about any controversial episodes. Like the final episode was somewhat controversial, but were there any other controversial episodes that stood out that that you can remember?
Oh my God, there were so many. I think. I mean, I'm not going to remember them all, but there was an episode called "What Sexual Harris Meant," which was the name of the character. His name was Sexual Harris. And it was a whole courtroom thing. We had Nuts to War, a double episode about what was going on at the time with the Gulf War. We had A New Leaf, which was about the first war. You know, the what?
The Kennedy assassination.
No, that was what was amazing, I thought, about the show. Was that they really just didn't care. They just tackled all kinds of social issues and things that were going on. And it was interesting because, you took, like they said earlier in the show, you take that idea and you apply it to a first-time experience by these dinosaurs who've never been through things like that. They don't know what it's like to have a boss and be an employee. They're all just learning. And so all of these issues that we've been dealing with forever were all new to them. So it was really a lot of controversy, I thought, back then. Yeah.
You want to, before we take the next question, we have a few more pictures that we didn't get to in the show. Can we throw those up here and show the gang? Does my voice keep going up into a high register?
No.
There's Mac.
Yes, there's Mac and me and Mac and me. Taking a break. I don't know what to say. He was amazing to work with. Unbelievable. Yeah. All these people. There's top left, Kevin. Oh, is that Kevin? Yeah, that must be him. Kevin, and then Mac going over top of my head. Then coming down, there's Misha. Then coming down around to the right side is Julianne. And then there's Lisa Rocco, who kept me alive. In addition to with Greg Hamlin, she kept me alive. Yes.
I think this is from the last day.
The pile up. This is something we like to do, actually. And I don't know if any one person initiated, although I think Leaf probably tended to be the one who would initiate these things. That's why he's always on the bottom, because I think he would come after me, and then I would just flop on him, and then Misha would jump on, and then Tony, and then Kevin, of course. He couldn't throw the baby on there, but he got on. So these were tradition.
It must have ruined some of the costuming. Did the Creature Shop give you a hard time about that?
Not really. They were just amazing. They probably just put up with us. We had to do so many things physically, and we tried to keep things physical because that's what made them feel, I think, so alive. But yeah, they probably cursed us when they took them down, and stuff, but they never told us that. I mean, of course, like I smoked at the time, and so I would have a cigarette. We could still smoke on the stage because our stage was raised 4 feet off of the ground. I would go over to an area away from our set, but still on the raised set because I couldn't get down because it was hard for me to go down steps. So I would go and try and hide in an area and sit on that raised thing and smoke, but I would have they would give me a clothespin, and the clothespin would grab onto the cigarette so that I wouldn't get the flame close to the rubber, or else I'd go up in flames. So I had to be really careful about that. But
I see a question here. Go ahead. Did you finish that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I see a question here I just want to address before it goes away. ML Farm, is that what it says? I have my computer glasses, not my phone glasses. Was there ever a hilarious incident that had the crew laughing to the point where filming became difficult, where it was hard to go on?
I can't think of one specific. I mean, a lot. It happened a lot where people would just start laughing and we'd have to stop.
Julianne says every day.
Every day? Yeah, that's right, Julianne. I have to apologize. Julianne's, the spelling of her last name was incorrect on the video. So we're going to fix that. Sorry, Julianne. Apologize. We'll fix it. But yeah, I'm thinking of there's Alan Troutman was playing the monster under the bed. And I remember a scene where, so he's doing the head and the right hand, and he's underneath it, and somebody else is doing, the left hand and the head, and somebody else is doing the right hand, and they're putting vegetables in this cauldron, and they just kept missing, every time, and we all just started laughing, and it just fell apart, and yeah. So you're right, Julianne. It happened all the time.
Okay. Question, Jason, please.
Absolutely. So, been some questions about working with Sherman Helmsley. What was that like?
Well, I'll tell you, I never really worked with him in side by side or in person. He came to visit a few times, and I don't know if in that very last photo in this, he's in there for the cast and crew picture, but we never really crossed paths. He would do his voice work after we shot the production and the production track. So Steve Whitmire was the voice of Richfield on the production track, which then was erased, or at least was the guide for Sherman to come in and redo the voice. So we didn't really spend a lot of time with the voice people, but they did come to visit, and it was always great when they did. But yeah.
You reminded me of something, mentioning Steve Whitmire, something we saw in the last video, which I've seen many times now on behind the scenes video. Whenever a camera would point in his direction, he would freeze and he wouldn't give them anything more. You'd always just see these cut to Steve and he would just be like this.
He always does that. Always.
It's so hysterical. You see him in this video eating something and he just stops mid-bite.
Yeah. Yep. He would just always freeze. Yep. The way to draw it's actually like a great Muppet little trick. Being more still than everything else that's going on, it draws your attention right to that thing that's not going nuts or being over, But I just want to say about Richfield, because he was my favorite character, but man, to be on the set when Richfield was on was the best. I wish we had some behind the scenes footage of that, but Steve was in there behind that head and Leaf down below doing the hands behind the desk. But Steve, I believe he reached in with his right, and then he would do the bottom jaw with his left. And so that's how he moved him, kind of the way I do Carl, Big Mean Carl. But Steve's movements and his subtlety and his stillness and the angles that he would create with him to get those eyes, like he would get, the angle. And I remember they would work on this. Dave Greenaway did the eyes and the brows and the little lip kind of movements. But they would work on these moments where Richfield would get upset and he would slam his horns into the ceiling, but he would have that angle where he was looking down from under his brow. It was always so cool. But the three of them, and then adding Sherman on top, were just amazing. It's an amazing character. Love that character.
Look what I have.
You got an Eggie from the set.
Mm-hmm. I don't even remember how I got it. I didn't steal it. Somehow I got it after the fact.
You stole it.
I didn't. That's something. And I have this. This was an embroidery for the Scavengers.
You stole it.
How could I steal it? I wasn't even in a creature shop. I was always on stage.
Hey, where's the watch? Want to show the watch?
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Right there.
Watches were made.
Any other questions, Jason? Any other questions?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Wait.
Sorry, real quick. This little, can you focus? I can't
Can I
tell
get
if it's,
focus on it?
I don't know.
It's hard to
Anyway, that's Dinosaurs watch.
Yeah, and there was. Why can't
Who's
I
on
get
it,
this?
Earl?
I don't know how you guys work backwards. That's Earl. Yeah, there was one made for a lot of the major character performers. I'm the family archivist, by the way. That's why I have a lot of stuff, including, as I mentioned, the Dinosaurs jersey. They spelled our name wrong on the back for the baseball team. There was a baseball team that played against some of the other TV shows at the time. Softball, yeah. What did I say? Baseball?
Baseball. What do you got, Jason? Sorry, what do you got?
So, question about how large was the model of the Sinclair home that they used for exterior shots?
You know what? I don't remember. Maybe somebody on the chat does, but this was my first big gig, and I wasn't involved in a lot of the production side of it. I just came in and tried to stay alive and do my part, and would go home and sleep and get up the next day and come in and do it again. So a lot of the production side of things, I don't really know, but Gene's got his finger up.
This just in. I was embarrassed to say a name because I wasn't quite sure, but I had a hankering that Terry Harden made these watches, and she just confirmed it on the chat. And she made one for each of the major performers. So it's doing well, Terry. It's in good hands here.
There it is, Terry.
And Earl's there on the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Maybe, you know what I'll do? I'll take a better photograph of this and I'll post it on the website or the Facebook page so people can see it.
Or gallery.
Yeah.
Sorry, couldn't answer that question so well. Another one, Jason, maybe?
It was a question, and this is another one that may be tough, but with multiple different directors, how was it determined who would direct each episode?
Yeah, sorry guys. Unfortunately, I don't know how they were chosen. I know that because of some recent research, I believe Bruce Bilson did 17 episodes. Tom Turbovich, I believe, did 27 episodes. I think Brian did 3 or 4. Mark Brule directed some. Jeff McCracken directed some. Reza Badia did some. Bill Deere did the pilot. So I don't ultimately know how. I know we kind of got into a groove of a Tom and Bruce Bilson and Brian kind of thing at a certain period. Maybe somebody else remembers out there, but I don't know how they were chosen.
It was
because they were
my choice.
insane.
I made the final
Gene
choice.
chose them.
I wasn't just hanging out on the set. There was a lot more happening behind the scenes than you're aware.
Gene was
It was
running
it was
ABC
just
at the
pulling
time.
names out of the hat.
Yeah, Terry just said that the directors were chosen as to who was the fastest to get it in the can, and Tommy won by a nose.
I don't know about that. I
Awesome.
think it was who was the most insane and who to stay the longest. Yeah.
So, which
Should we
were your
try
favorite
3 more
episodes?
Okay.
Yeah,
What's that?
favorite episode. Do you have a favorite episode?
Do I have a favorite episode? I guess I like the last episode. There's a lot of heart in it, and it just, I don't know. It was a really smart way to go out. I thought, that they go extinct, but they don't know it. So I think I love that one. I mean, there's so many fun ones, but I guess that might be my favorite.
And I'm not familiar with the show.
It was on in the 90s. I don't think you ever saw it.
See, I was busy with tutorial.
Although you chose our directors, I'm a little confused.
Yeah, well, I only had so much time in the day.
Right. Oh, I get it. All right. Whoa.
Set me off.
More? Do
Well,
we do
3 more
or what
questions,
do we-
and then we'll wrap it up.
3 more, you said?
Sure. How much communication was there between the creature shop and the performers? Was there a lot of feedback about how the costumes moved and being able to get back and forth with them on that?
Well, so yes, they were all tailored to each one of us, except for the Dinosaurs. A couple people, fortunately, were the same size, but it wasn't as maybe tailored. Although everybody, I'm sure, had little adjustments that they needed, especially when it came to the head. The helmet inside that had to strap on to hold the head on. I'm sure that size or padding may have been needed depending on people's head size. But with Earl, I went to England to do my fittings and we all did, the family, so that they were all specifically tailored to us. The saddle idea was, they figured how's he going to hold this thing up? He's going to want to sit down. And if he does sit down, it's just going to squash the whole structure, and that's going to get ruined. So the idea of this, saddle came into it. There were adjustments made because the head was so front heavy. There were little struts or bars that were inside that started from my chest and then curved up into the head, so it took the weight of the head and loosened it up a bit so that I could move it and turn it without it being really hard to move. And so those had to be adjusted depending on how much weight I felt I could hold and what was the neutral position for the head. And I'm sure we all went through these things. So I think we all had input as we were being fitted. You would have to, I think, just because people are going to either go ow or they're going to go oh. So
I have a question for you here from Eve Cumming. What did you work on after Dinosaurs? Was that your last suit work?
Wasn't my last. The next thing I think I worked on after Dinosaurs was a music video, Kokomo, with the Muppets, a Beach Boys song, and I did some background characters. That was my first kind of thing I think I did with the Muppets. And then we did a Muppet Classic Theater where I did a little more puppets than that. But then I don't know what year this was, but a few years later, maybe more, I was in a movie called Born to be Wild. Leif Tilden played this gorilla that speaks sign language, and he asked me if I was interested and passed on my name to play one of the gorillas in that. And so that was the next suit thing I did, but I think that may have been the last, except for, then with the Muppets, Dog Lion. I was inside of that big character from the Muppet Show years later. So a couple more times, but this was really the longest run, and I don't think I'd ever do it again.
Let's see. Do we have a final question to go out on? Do you have any stories about working with Jim Henson?
I never worked with Jim Henson, unfortunately.
Right.
It was a big part of something I never got to do, and I met him a couple times, but I never got to work with him.
He passed away in 1999 when the show started. Yeah.
Right before Dinosaurs started. But I feel like I have, just because of the what he left behind to the other Muppet performers and how they all work and how they work together and those relationships and the sensitivity to the material and the relationships of the characters. I feel like I've learned through them what that might have been like, although I never really did. But there you go.
Well, thank you, everybody. We're going to wrap it up. We've been hanging out for quite a while now, and we really appreciate it. You stopping by. Won't you stop by again? You can have fun. Make some
promise it won't be 2 hours and 45 minutes next time. This was a special. Just keep in mind, this was a special show, and next week's will be shorter. What is it, Gene? Or is it our regular hour we're going to stick to?
It's more than an hour.
It's 3 hours.
It's probably like an hour and 15 or something like that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, come to that one. That's a fun one. Thank you all. Thanks again, guys.
Bye.
Jason.